beach where dreams collide. High road roaring every night. Spotlight on Spurs, feel the fight. Spotlight on Spurs, hearts ablaze through the cheers and cloudy days. From the lane to glory's flight. Spotlight on Spurs, shine so bright. Echoes rise when we take the field. This is passion, nothing concealed. Through the tackles, joy ignites. Spotlight on Spurs, burning lights. Feel the tempo, sweet and wild. London's warriors never mild. Every challenge we endure. Spotlight on Spurs, loud and pure.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Spotlight on Spurs. This week we're doing something a little bit different. I thought we'd have a little look and do a full review of all of the squad that we have, including some of the youth prospects that we've got either out on loan or within the club. Taking a little look to see what we think, whether we should be keeping them, whether we should be loaning them out, or there'll be quite a few I can imagine that we'll also be getting rid of as well. So we've got a star-studded lineup today with a couple of people making their debut on the channel. So let's start bringing in the guests. As always, welcome in Chris. How we doing, mate?
Hello, mate. How are you? How's things?
Not too bad, not too bad. We're all fellow European champions now, which is
Still smiling.
brilliant. And
Good.
I'm not going to get over that one. I'm not going to get over it. Another returning guest. How we doing, Ryan? You all right, mate?
All good, mate. Thank you very much. All good.
Good. And then two people making their debuts, which I'm sure everybody already knows. They know who they are. So welcome in, Adrian. How are we doing, sir? You okay?
I'm fine. I'd need surgery to take the smile off my face, I tell you. And I've still got that warm glow inside for becoming a European champion. And I'm sure that warm glow, well, the afterglow will carry us through next season.
Oh, for sure. I see more videos being shared today from Twitter, and it just brought all the memories back. And then last but not least, we have Lubo in the building. How are we doing, sir?
All good, thanks. Thanks for inviting me on tonight.
No, thank you for everyone for coming on. So as I said, we will be going through doing a bit of a tier list and kind of going through who we think will still be at the club and whether they won't be. And then obviously that will then lead on to, before we wrap up, we can kind of go on to some transfers of some like holes that we think that the squad kind of has. But my first question to everyone was just, how is everyone feeling after it's now the dust has settled a little bit? I think Tottenham kind of Twitter and YouTube went a little bit crazy first couple of days afterwards. There was a lot of giving it to rival fans and some bickering within the fan base. But now the dust has settled, how do we feel about the whole situation, us being European champions, etc., etc.? Lubo, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, no, fantastic. We had a fantastic day last Wednesday in Bilbao. It was, I've always said on podcasts, it's about moments and memories. Last Wednesday was one of them. We got through just. I think if United had scored, I think we'd have been hanging on for penalties. But at the end of the day, however disappointing the performance was, in terms of the amount of attacks, etc., I thought they fought for every single ball, like I haven't seen for a couple of years. And at the end of the day, the result's the only thing that matters. So, no, terrific, back in the Champions League. But it can't, unfortunately, it's, we need a new manager.
We have not taken long to bring up Big Ange. Ryan is definitely in your boat with that one. Although he's not allowed to say it. From a bet that we've had, he's not allowed to say it.
No, so, I can't go through another league season like that. It was just dreadful, isn't it?
I'll be honest, I don't think anyone can. Adrian, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, look, the impact of this is immense, and I think it's only Spurs fan base have only now beginning to absorb what this actually means. Champions League football, all the extra money from the Europa League, the Champions League, player sales, the future of players at the club. Would they leave? Would they now not leave? I mean, Andrew's future. This is like it's massive. It really is massive, and there are so many things that point us in the right direction to be positive about because we qualified for the Champions League. I'll leave it there because I'm sure you're going to go into it in depth.
Yeah. Tottenham away. The Angie and Ange debate lasted 24 hours. And that's it, though, isn't it? It's a talking point, and it was just heightened from after the final. Ryan, how did you feel about it, mate? And how are you feeling now?
Oh, mate, like I'm still buzzing about it. It still hasn't really sunk in yet, but I don't know if it's just me. I'm really looking forward to the Super Cup. Like I can't wait to face the big boy early on. Do you know what I mean? So I just love it, man.
I think as a Spurs fan, you kind of feel like that, and then after a couple of hours, you kind of sinks in and go, well, hang on a minute, I remember how good Arthur was.
Yeah.
It's not something I want just yet. So, but again, as being a Tottenham fan, I guess. And then lastly, Chris, what was your feelings, mate? We had quite a good time, didn't we, at the parade?
Oh, it took me 3 days to recover from the parade. It was it was mental, but it was good. I feel like it was well needed for everyone at Spurs, everyone who's involved in the club, any fan, or it was just so nice to be surrounded by crowds of people who were all just, I mean, we're all singing all the songs. We was all just having a good time. It was just so nice to be celebrating something good for once after all the discussions we've had on here, all the negativity mostly, and then everything else. So good couple of days. Glad the train journey home Saturday was a painful one for me personally. A lot of sleeping and a lot of sugar, but it was all worth it in the end. And I think now back to business and figuring out what's going to happen next year.
Figuring out what's going to happen next year at Spurs, we're trying to figure it out. I don't think Spurs know where they're going with certain bits and pieces, but no, I completely agree. I mean, from our point of view, watched the final in a really weird situation where I was, but then obviously went to the parade. The parade was absolutely incredible. It was a bit disappointing that a lot of the fans that made the game wouldn't have got back for the parade, which is slightly disappointing, but nevertheless, I think the numbers that showed up and that have been reported across social media have just been absolutely incredible, and it just shows that how big a club we are, and we shouldn't be going 17 years with no more trophies. Borman's in the chat giving it to Ryan already, so that's a great start to the show. So we'll get straight into it. As I say, we've got what I've done is I've put together a tier list, which is literally every single first team player that's listed on the Tottenham Hotspur website. And then I've added in a lot of the young players as well. So we've got players out on loan. Your Hooks. We've got Donnelly in there. These are in no particular order, so I've not put ones in where we're definitely going to kind of ship them off or anything like that. I'm already seeing loads of love in the chat for Lubo. James Flowers only here for Lubo. So basically, if anyone's got, is there anything that that is kind of going to be an outrageous shout that you guys feel that one of them should definitely be kept, that maybe would be maybe an argument for, or should we just start off with players that we definitely feel will be staying, the likes of Vicario? I think it's unlikely that we'll kind of go with them. So is there anyone want to start us off with a name that may cause some contention?
Yeah, in any order.
Any order, yeah. Just to start us off, and then, as I say, we'll then go down the list because it's just in a random order. As I say, the first one's Valise, second one's Ashley Phillips, so they're not put together in any way, shape, or form. It's just how randomly they came up when I put them in.
Well, the one I was going to go that might be contentious for me is Kulusevski.
I had a feeling when you said I had a feeling that Kulu might be the one. So, what is your thoughts on Kulusevski then?
My thought is that he slows the movement down, holds on to the ball, always turns the same way. For me, he has purple patches, but he's never consistent. So for me, I would cash in. I think there's probably better out there that we can go and get.
I see a couple of nodding heads there. Right, are you in agreement with that? Would Kulusevski be one that you'd sell? Obviously, this
Yeah.
is all dependent on getting a reasonable fee and everything else, and we'll be realistic with it.
Yeah, no,
but-
I agree 100%. I think he just slows everything down. To me, he just screams like I know we got him from there, but like a Serie A player. Like it just, I think to me, whether we have Ange or Glasner or whoever, when we counter attack, it's got to be quick, sharp, and he just slows it down. Sometimes it's good, but I'd say 80% of the time in the last 6 months, he's just slowing everything down. Yeah, it's not for me now.
Yeah, I did see somewhere where basically I know that there's a few people that mentioned about James Maddison being 33% injured, 33% getting fit, and then 33% playing. And I had a little look through Kulusevski's statistics and the kind of like how his seasons have gone, and he's either started off very well in the first, well, it's not be 6 months, but it'd be like 4 or 5 months, and then after that really tailed off, or vice versa. So although at one stage I felt like he was absolutely pivotal, there's definitely been I've seen a lot more people in the chats recently kind of going, not sure whether he kind of fits with what we're going. And someone quite rightly said that, is he a winger? Is he a midfielder? Adrian, what are your thoughts on Kulusevski? Would you be keeping him around, or?
He's one of my favourite players, actually. I'd give him player of the season. I mean, he's got 10 goals, 11 assists. He's been overworked. He had to be rested because of our injury crisis. That was the problem. But Porro and him played the most amount of games, didn't they? Had the most minutes, and Porro had over 4,000 minutes or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
No, look, but, views on players is subjective. I think his 21 contributions for the games he's played is good. I think he's a quality player. He's shown a bit more in midfield when he's been moved into midfield. Need to see more of him in that position. It has worked and it hasn't worked at times. He's a quality footballer. And, I don't see him moving on.
No, I think this is, although obviously this is just based around if we can get a good fee, and obviously we're not saying that he's someone that will be sold. For instance, it's just whether my concern with Kulusevski is that I like him as a player. I do think he slows it down, but where does he fit in this team? Because for me, I don't think he's a right winger. And then are we going to play sort of Ange ball and play 3-8 or whatever you want to call it? Are we going to go back to? Are we going to start sticking with, if you like, what we've seen recently in Europe with two deep lying midfielders, with the one basically playing as a 10? Where does he fit? Where's he best for you, Adrian? Where do you think his best position is?
Well, attacking midfielder. I'm not a fan of numbers 6, 8, and 10. I wasn't brought up on that. To me, he's an attacking midfielder. He's either an 8 hybrid 10. I mean, if you take an example of a 10, when people say a 10, you get a number. Well, Eriksen was a 10. He's different to Maddison. Them two are different to Bobby Firmino, right? So where do you stop? I mean, define your 10, you see. And then when you get involved in conversations, people go, oh, this player's not a 6, he's not an 8, and he's not a 10. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't tell me anything because I need to know what your perspective is on what that number is. And I just think there's too many variables with numbers. So I see him as an attacking midfielder, playmaker, attacking midfielder. That's where I see him.
And then finally, Chris, what are your thoughts on Kulusevski?
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I don't see him as being the wide attacker anymore, especially if we're going to play a system with counter-attacking. Like Ryan said, he does slow it up a bit. He doesn't get away as quick. But then if he's going to play sort of as the centre attacking midfielder, does that mean that Maddison gets dropped? Does he get dropped into midfield? I think Bergvall probably will stay in centre midfield. So again, it's, as you said, where does he fit in? If I don't know what sort of money would tempt it, but are you sort of thinking if 50, 60 million come in, would you be like, cheers, thanks, bite his hand off and off he goes? Because I think that sort of money, I'd probably say we've made a profit as well, and we could probably use that to potentially bring someone else in. It's a tough one because I like him, as you say. He's a good player. I don't think he's a bad player. In a bad season for Spurs, he has sort of been our highlight. So yeah, it's a tough one. But I think if there was money being thrown around for him that was enough to sort of make you think about it, then there is that option to. Well, then we probably would get rid of him then.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't. He's not a player you'd be able to get rid of without bringing in someone adequate to sort of replace him. So, yeah, again, you 20, 30 million, you're definitely not going to accept. But I suppose if someone was to lay down 50, maybe 60 million, then maybe that would be a conversation to be had. You'd be looking at what potentially, like someone like an Eze, something like that, probably come in as a central player. But you're right, Maddison, he would be in sort of the similar position. And someone's mentioned it here about Maddison. Maddison's never fit. Kulu missed a lot of the season, so is it a case of? I feel like we've got a lot of players that miss a lot of football, and maybe that might come down to it, where we just need to get players playing more regular. It does sound that it's a little bit more of like a 3-on-2 here. So it's Kulusevski up for the sale. So Lubo started off with a bang. That's it. He's gone in and got rid of Kulu already. So we're being ruthless this summer. We're being absolutely ruthless and getting rid of them. So there are a couple of people that are in the groups here that I think are already kind of confirmed that they're going. So you've got players like Alfie Whiteman. I'm sure nobody's going to make a case. The only case that could potentially be made for him would be the whole club trained issue in Europe. But I feel like as a 5th or 4th choice goalkeeper, if you're going down that route, then we're going to must have had so many issues. So we could probably take Whiteman out of there. I'll tell you what, let's start a little bit, just because a lot of the ones, the first 4, for instance, are quite fringe. So you've got Alejandro Valise. I mean, we've spent, 15 million on him. He's gone out and had a few loans in Spain and doesn't seem to have hit the ground running at all. Although he did score a hat-trick in one game, and I think he's got 1 goal since in like 25 appearances. So I feel like I already know. We'll do a quick one on this one. Chris, would you be keeping him around, loaning him, or selling him?
Cut your losses, sell him, and reinvest the money elsewhere, I think.
Adrian?
I'd loan him out because, as you said, he hasn't great form in Spain, and you need to loan him out just to increase his value to get some of your money back. So he's a loan for me. Yeah,
I completely understand. I think it was the River Plate who have said they're interested in taking him, but outside of that, it doesn't seem like there's a European move. Ian, what would you do with him?
See what you can get for Valise. If it's a decent amount, move him on and use the money for another player. Because if he's not going to make it at Spurs, then there's no point hanging around. Just cut, move on, get some money back.
Ryan, you in agreement there?
Yeah, 100%. Just sell him, get the money back.
Yeah, I can see the option for the loan, definitely. I think because we have done that with a few players. I think Troy Parrott comes to mind, loaning him out. He has 1 good season, and all of a sudden he could be worth a few more quid. But in terms of what we've got right now, if a suitable offer, which is obviously what we're going off of, if a suitable offer comes in, then Valise is probably one we let go. Now, this one I think might cause a little bit of a stir, because I've seen, again, I always use Twitter as a little bit of a benchmark, which is probably the worst thing to do. But Ashley Phillips, guys, what are our thoughts on Ashley Phillips? Start with you, Chris.
Not really seen too much from Tunisia, so I don't really know how his performances have been. I'm pretty sure there's a talent in there. From what I've heard, I'd need to sort of maybe have a better look at him. So maybe give him out on another loan, or just keep him as. I mean, if we had the Europa League, it would have been good to have played him in that to get him some experience. As you say, you're looking at players here that you want to potentially rotate in the Champions League, and I don't think he'd be up to that standard. So maybe a loan move next year to either a Premier League team just coming up if someone wants him, or even a Championship team that's sort of challenging for the top end of the table. But ideally, I think give him a loan in the Premier League and let us see what he's about.
Yeah, it's his second Championship loan where he's basically played every single game. So I feel like if he's not stepping up this year, then maybe it's time. Adrian, what are your thoughts on Phillips?
6'4", right-footed, quick, breaks in the midfield, looks decent at the level I've seen him. Would he make it with us? Well, this is it. You need to see a sample of him at a higher level, don't you? I mean, so I like the look of him, the little clips I've seen of him. Although his sidekick, Dorrington's the left-footed, he's better on the ball in my opinion, but it's only my opinion. But loan him again. He's younger than Dorrington anyway, I think, by a couple of years.
Yeah, I think he's around 19, 20, something like that. So, Lubo, what are your thoughts on Phillips? You seen much of him?
No, not seen much of him. Really disappointed after the Chelsea game, November 23, when Romero was suspended and Van de Ven got injured. Should have brought Phillips in against Wolves. Decided to play Dyer, who had no future at the club instead, and then chucked him out on loan after Christmas. I think, which was a complete waste. He should have played him in the games up to Christmas. If he had it, if he looked good, personally, there wouldn't have been any need to have bought Dragerson. But they didn't. Typical Ange. I mean, just doesn't give kids a chance particularly. I keep him for sure. Keep him. You know, we've got Champions League. We've got 4 tournaments next year. We need a decent sized squad, particularly if Ange stays. The amount of injuries that our players get, which is mental.
From what I've heard, is the difficulty is with him is he needs to get better on the ball. Adrian, you kind of mentioned it. I think Dorrington's definitely better on the ball, but I think Phillips has more of the physical attribute. So being someone playing, if we go to that highlight, we don't really know what tactic he's going to go with now, do we? We've got your old kind of Ange ball, you've got the kind of defensive sit back and counter. So what's he going to play? But definitely, if we play the high line, I think Phillips has definitely got the physical attributes to kind of play that. Brian, what would your thoughts on Phillips be?
I think, you know what, I think I'd keep him because I think it's like a bit of a now or never with him. I'd keep him, and maybe if Danzo, because you know our injuries, you never know. It could be, say, Danzo gets injured, Dragusin gets injured, and all of a sudden we're back to playing Gray at centre back. So I think I'd keep him in the squad, and then by January, if he ain't getting any game time, slow him out.
Fair enough. So we'll go with keep, and obviously it may come depending on what happens with the centre backs. Obviously Romero's future's been up in the air as well. This is someone who I think is a very, very good player, but I don't think he fits this league whatsoever. So Brian Hill. So we'll start this time. We'll start with you, Ryan. What are your thoughts on Mr. Brian?
Ryan. You know what? I actually think he's a very talented player, but just not in this league, as everyone knows. Like dribbling wise, he's up there. I think in the Premier League with one-on-ones and things like that. But he's just so weak. He's like a stick. To me, La Liga, sell to La Liga. He's got obviously a good reputation there. Get a good decent money for him. Yeah, I'd sell him.
I mean, we're going to make a huge loss on this fella, aren't we? What did we pay? Was it 25 million? And we gave him Lamella.
And Lamella, yeah. I think we can get about 25.
Yeah. Well, the thing, have Spain got the money? I guess is the only problem. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's time to go. I don't know how much longer he's got on his contract, but he can't get Cam on loan. I don't think. Lubo, what about Brian Hill?
Extremely, talented, technical player. Just hasn't got the physicality for the Premier League, unfortunately. Just so for me, I'd sell reluctantly because I like him as a player.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like him as a player as well, and I'd like if he was to get bigger to be able to be in and around the squad. I think he could offer something different for sure, but that the physicality is just not the best. Adrian,
So
sell it as well. You sell him. Oh, I put it in the wrong one. And then Chris.
Yeah, sell as well. I totally agree. Talented player, just not built for the Premier League, unfortunately. So another one, cut the losses if there is any, and use the money to reinvest it elsewhere.
Yeah. And then the last of the 4, we've got Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Now, there were rumours initially that it was an obligation to buy, but recently it doesn't seem like it is an obligation and that it's an option. But if I think the option was around 17 to 20 million, I think it is. So I've actually said I didn't expect to say this season, but I did actually think that Højbjerg would have been a decent squad member in this squad this year, which I think is quite poor, really, considering we should have been upgrading that area. But if he was to come back, would Højbjerg be someone that you would bring back into the squad, or what is your thoughts, Adrian?
my understanding is this is the problem with information. You need to source it, double source it, treble source it. Marseille have an obligation to buy for 8.5 million, and they couldn't do it last season because they were constrained by PSR rules. So they have to buy him, and I still stick by that. They have to buy him, so he's not going to be playing for us again.
Fair enough. If they didn't have to buy him, would you keep him in and around the squad, or do you think we need to, especially now in the Champions League?
No, we need someone who's technically better, who can beat the press, and he's good on his day, and he's helped us out enormously in certain games, which probably saved us points. Bit slow at times when it comes to, like, you got to be quick on the turn. You're playing at midfield, and he's just not technically there. I mean, and there are lots of others out there that are technically better than him.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm the same. He's just sell him, cut the losses. He wasn't a part of Angie's team for a reason, I think. And if Angie's staying, then you might as well just sell him to get more money.
You sound really sad about the Angie staying part.
Yeah, honestly.
Lumo, would you? What about with Højbjerg?
For me, that's always I've the only information I've read has always been that it's an obligation, and I think it's up to 20 million, not 8.5.
Yeah, so, I thought it was about 18 or something.
Why would we sell a Danish international for 8.5?
I think he's on quite high wages. I think he's on about 100, 120 grand a week, which I'm not saying high as into, but for a player of that kind of caliber, that is quite high. He's probably one of the highest earners. If you took off the top three, he's probably in and around it. So, and then Chris.
I thought his contract expired this year. I thought he was going there and then his contract ended. But
no, I think he got 1 year left after this season. This season's ended.
I don't think he stays. I think he needs to go and get someone in that's going to, as you say, he's done his job for us in the previous years, and I think he'll always be respected for that, but it is time to move on now.
Yeah. And then the hero of all heroes, old Johnson, Ole. Would we keep or I sell? I guess we wouldn't be loaning out a £50 million signing. But would you be keeping him? And we've had several conversations about him throughout the season, me, Chris, and Ryan. But we'll start with Lubo. Would you be keeping him around the squad?
Yes, I would. But I'd try and get an upgrade on him. I think you can't. For me, he's our leading goal scorer, but he does very little else, and he needs a proper coach to take him on to the next level. Because at the moment, he's not a wide player. He's more of an inside forward. And just played him in the wrong place. He comes in very well, for the tap-ins. He scored one or two nice cross shots as well. You got to keep him. He's your leading goal scorer. I mean, it's, you wouldn't be looking to sell your top goal scorer. But I think we need an upgrade, and I think he needs the competition as well. I think he needs to raise his game, and he should be taking on players more. There was one ball down the line at Old Trafford just after half time, and he went down the line and he put it across, and Kulu put it in to make it 2-0. I can't remember another time when he's done that, and that's what he should be doing most matches.
And he's fairly quick as well. It's not like he's not got the pace to do it. He just seems to be hesitant for some reason. I know he had a hamstring injury.
Yeah, I was about to say since that injury, he's like he's scared to get
into full flight.
Yeah, and just go for it.
Yeah, Ryan, what you so just to clarify, Luba, so you'd keep him, but hopefully becomes a squad member as opposed to a first team starter then.
Yeah, and go and get Brian Mbeumo from Brentford. So, that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, I'd keep him. I would keep him. But for me, he's like the perfect player. You're 1-0 down, or even a 1-1. You bring him on. I wouldn't even give him position. I'd say just put him up there and just be in basically the right space just to score a goal. That's to me his type of thing is just get up there with Solanke, hover around, cause problems. But yeah, to me he's a super sub at best. But I'll definitely keep him.
I think he'd really suit kind of a Nottingham Forest system. where they just sit back and absorb, and then it's a long ball up, and it's just quick on the. Well, if he can find his speed and maybe a bit of confidence, but it's amazing being top goal scorer is lacking confidence. But Adrian, are you in agreement there? Keeping him around the squad?
Well, I've warmed to him. I didn't want him at the club. I usually go and watch videos when rumours gain gravitas and clubs are talking or agents talking. That's when I take notice of what's going on in the transfer window. I didn't want him last year. He got 5 goals, was it, or something like that. This he's got 18. He's now scored in a major final, 7 assists. You can't ignore those numbers. And we are talking of a squad of 25. So you definitely keep him. And I actually believe he's got a higher ceiling. I've seen him, he worked his socks off in that finals, or he worked his socks off against Man City in a cup but didn't score. There's about 3 games I see him do it. But I think under Angie's system, he tells the wingers to stay out there. But I get the fans' frustration. Oh, why hasn't he dropped back? Because Solanke had dropped back. You didn't have to tell Kane to drop back, you know what I mean? But so they must be told to stay out there. This can be the only reason behind it. But who knows? Maybe not.
Yeah. Chris?
He's probably the person who I've sung his name the most the last week or so.
Is that just because it's catchy?
It is, to be fair. But nah, I agree with everyone. I think he stays with the hope of an upgrade, bit of competition, and hopefully he proves he's got more in his locker as well, and he shows us that he can step up and do a lot more.
Yeah. Faz, we did end up going with a 3-2 majority on Kulu, just on the basis that obviously with fitness, where is his best position was one of the problems, and fairly inconsistent. Seems to have a good half a season and the other half seems to tail off. Reasons behind it possibly, but that's where we're at this moment in time. So next person up has currently got the year extension. Ben Davies, the club has the year extension on him. A decision needs to be made fairly swiftly. Again, on X or Twitter, there's been a lot of people that say ultimate professional 100% should be in and around the squad, and then others go in, if we want to go on to bigger and better things, Ben Davies needs to go. Where do you sit on Ben Davies, Ryan?
I wanted him gone 2 years ago. Don't get me wrong, he's done the bits where you come in, you do a nice little 6 or 7 out of 10 job, but for me, it's time. It was time 2 years ago, but it's time now, 100%. Definitely.
Lubo?
I sell. We've got, you've got Phillips coming in. We've got Dorrington there. Time to move him on. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he'd do a good job. Maybe at a club like Leeds, maybe. But I would sell him.
Adrian?
I think he'd do. He could do well. He'll have either choices because he's a very bright person. He's got his, his degrees. Either Leeds with Solomon, or go to West Brom as Ryan Mason's assistant. One of the two. But if he stays, he's possibly blocking the path of one of our younger centre backs.
Yeah, and also I don't think he counts as. He doesn't count as homegrown in Europe, neither does he? We had this issue with him, and I think it was Dyer as well. So
I'm not sure on that. At first, he didn't, because Dyer was Portugal as well. I don't know after a couple of years that fades, that goes. I'm not too sure on that. I think he does now, but I wouldn't swear on it.
Right. Okay, Chris.
Yeah, so I think it's time to go. He's again done his bit. He's been a total professional at Spurs, but move on and go and let one of the youngsters come through.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be coaching next, won't it? I think he'll probably choose a club where he could go in and do some coaching badges for sure. Can only start with one man with the next person up in Archie Gray. Lubo, what would you do with old Archie Gray? We can't make him captain, as someone suggested.
No, that was still. No, you keep him. He hasn't been played correctly this season. He should have been brought in for a few minutes towards the end of games against teams like Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton. Instead, he gets thrown in at Anfield, thrown in at Villa. Just again, more Ange madness. No, does he need a loan to a top 5 league? I don't know. I don't know. I would be bringing someone like Paulinho in, and let Gray shadow him and let him learn from him. I think we've got ourselves a very good player. He showed, listen, he's a central midfielder, 18 years old. He's played across the back four. He's versatile. He's a good utility player. He showed he can cope. He wasn't out of his depth. He wasn't particularly great, but he wasn't out of his depth, and he did a job. And I'd keep him.
Ryan?
I'd actually loan him. I'd loan him out. I think I'd loan him definitely out to the Premier League. But I would say to the club that he has to play at least 80% of all the games, and especially at like defensive mid or a deep line playmaker. I'd loan him out. I would. I'd loan him out. I'd let him get that experience of constant Premier League football in midfield. And then, because you look at what Lavia done when he went from Man City, I know it was a transfer, Man City to Southampton, and then he ended up getting a 60 million pound move to Chelsea. So,
yeah.
So I think
with Leeds coming up, could that be an option going back there?
Yeah, I think he's comfortable for him as well, isn't he? He's really comfortable. But make sure you tell him he ain't playing right back, he ain't playing centre back, he's playing in defensive mid.
Adrian, what would you do?
Keeping him at the club. He had 33 games at right back for Leeds. He played a few as a number 10, bossed the midfield against Chelsea in the cup. And as we've seen his defensive qualities, he's actually in a more safer position playing as a DM. I'm keeping him there. He had a good first half against Brighton, even though they spanked us. And I thought, now we're seeing what I've seen of you before, because I've watched him before he come to the club. Yeah. So I think he's going to be a superstar. I'm definitely keeping him.
Chris, loan or keep?
If we're going to loan him out, I'd like to see him go to a club, if it's in the Premier League, with a manager, with a coaching team that's going to coach him correctly. I think if he stays at Spurs and he doesn't get coached correctly and he's just used again as a chuck him in there, he'll just fill the gaps. He's never going to reach the potential that he has. So like what Ryan said, loan him out to a team in the Premier League who are going to guarantee the position. He's going to get the exposure and just constantly have that position there that he's going to be used in. So yeah, I'd loan him out.
Oh, so we've got 2 loans and 2 keeps. I would probably keep him, and just on the basis that I feel like we're going to be strengthening in other positions, and we could end up leaving ourselves short with loaning him out. However, I wouldn't be against the loan. If Leeds were to come in, say, and he was to kind of get 75% of the games in central midfield, I think it would be a good option. I just feel like with the amount of games we're going to play, that he's going to probably end up staying in and around the squad.
I'm not sure if Ange wants to actually use him in the midfield though, because he's had plenty of opportunities and he's still not done it. So it's a case of, is he just going to again sit on the bench and just be used as a utility player to fill in at right back or centre back or left back or wherever he needs to go? So I think if you've got the good loan move with the correct club and the correct setup, where he's going to be playing in one position, he's going to get that guarantee, then I think for him to progress and benefit, I think that would be the option. Because as I say, I don't think Ange doesn't want to see him keep him as a centre midfielder, because he's had plenty of chances to.
But Chris, depends who the new manager is.
Yeah. Yes.
We've got some optimistic bunch in the group that believe that Ange is on his way out. The next one to come up is the numbers being linked with him is just absolutely ridiculous. But Christian Romero. So obviously recent reports have been that a £35 million mark of where Atletico are offering. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal at this moment in time. So again, when we're talking realistic, we're obviously not talking the £35 million mark. If you was to receive an offer of say 60 million, would that be an offer that you'd be willing to accept, Adrian?
No, I want to keep him. And Atletico Madrid are the main interesting party, although there's been rumours of Real as well. And he's our best defender, in my opinion, by a country mile. And he's their best defender on the ball. You keep him if he doesn't sign a new contract in the summer, because like you said, he's got 2 years left. Fair enough. The other thing with Atletico, though, They've been linked with Cardoso and Bentancur because they want a defensive midfielder. They're now linked with Romero, and they've got no money. They've got to sell before they buy. So most of this transfer window stuff now, just treating like, I'm humouring it at the moment. But I'm keeping him.
Lubo, would you keep Romero around, or £60 million are you?
100%. For me, if you compared every single player in our squads playing at the peak of their ability, Romero's head and shoulders above anybody else. For me,
I would even keep him to make him see out his contract. That's how much I think you've got to keep these type of players. You do not let them go. This is what we've done in the past with Bale and Modric and Walker.
Well, listen, if you're offered massive money, you take him. You got Vuskovic coming in as well. For me, I wouldn't sell him for less than 70 million.
Yeah, the numbers that are being linked, the 35 million, I said on Twitter today.
That's a Mickey take. It's a bit, you can't take offers like that. It's like when Man City offered 75 for Kane. That was the only offer they put in. It was a piss take.
And also, he's got 2 years left. So if we kept him for a year, I don't think he's the kind. I think with the Champions League, I think he'll have motivation to carry on playing. I think if we had nothing, then maybe he might lose that motivation. But he'll have the motivation to play for a year. And then in a year's time, he'd still have a year. We'd still easily get 35 million. So I don't understand why we would anywhere, shape or form accept anything close to that.
And I don't buy into, the weather's bad here and all that, and my family is suffering because of the weather. No. He's got enough money. He can send them on holiday every month, right? So I'm not having that. I mean, where does that come from? You know what I mean? That's a rubbish. And he's not the sort of player, I'll give him his due, although he loves his country, nothing wrong with that. He's not the sort of player who's going to stamp his feet and kick up a fuss. He's in the Champions League with Spurs. He's just got a medal. He's got very little to complain about.
Yeah,
Give him 200 grand a week, additional money as a signing on fee. If you don't want to break the wage structure at 200 grand, give him that, but then give him a signing on fee. If he signs an extension, give him 2, 3, 4, 5 mil. So as you keep the wage structure as it is, you can work it that way.
Chris,
I think if his head's already turned and he doesn't want to be at the club, as long as we get the money we want for him, then I think you sell him. Because if the player's head's not in it, there's no point just keeping him here for the sake of it. If he turns around and actually says, I want to stay, I'm happy to stay, I'm not looking elsewhere, then of course he stays. He's one of the first names on the team sheet. He's a great player. So there's no reason to sell him other than his head's turned. He doesn't want to be here no more. So if that's the case, then I wouldn't be accepting Mickey Mouse offers like 35 million. But if he turns around and actually says, I'm off, I don't want to be here, then it's for Levy or whoever to turn around to, if it's Atletico Madrid, and say, look, this is the offer, this is the price. If you don't meet it, then he's not going. And
that's the one thing he's good at, though, isn't it? That's the one thing.
The plus, if he stays, is if we can, get him to commit straight away, it saves us time in the transfer window looking for another centre back or bringing another win and doing all the negotiation and everything else that goes with it. So you'll save days in the transfer window doing this. He's too good a player to let go. Too good.
Ryan?
I agree with Chris. For me, it's if you're staying, sign a year extension, up your wages. Brilliant. But I've just got this feeling, right, that he stays this year. We might not achieve, but if we do achieve, like we win a cup, we get top 4, then maybe. But I still think this time next year, the minute Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid come calling, I think he's going to put his feet down and be like, I want to go. Because if he's moaning about his family, saying, oh, the weather's too much, my family's scared of the rain and all that, then imagine a year's time and say we don't win a cup and we finish 7th, and I think he will put in a transfer request. So for me...
Does it not rain in Madrid then, no?
Exactly. Not as much as here, mate.
Yeah, not as much as here, but it still rains everywhere else you go. It's not like...
Well, they've been here 3 years, haven't they?
That's what I mean. So it seems like to me there's excuses like slowly creeping in. Oh, I want to play in La Liga. I love him. I think he's one of my favourite players, but I want to play in La Liga. Oh, the weather's bad. To me, he's slowly like edging his way out, trying to find a way out.
you think it's not maybe a poor season as well? We've had it's been a poor season. Apart obviously at the end we've ended up winning a trophy, which is brilliant. But I think overall the Spurs season this year has been horrendous, and I think that was maybe him thinking, "Is this just going to keep getting worse? Maybe it's me." And maybe he's sort of the interviews have been done too early, and he's maybe there's a lot has been said that's been either misinterpreted or taken the wrong way. Now we go and win a trophy, and he's tasted that, he's had that, he's witnessed that experience, he's had that feeling of, oh wow, we can do it, this is amazing, I love this feeling of winning. And if he genuinely believes that, he maybe didn't think that was possible 3 months ago because of the form we had, the way we was playing, the injury crisis, everything else. So
well, the latest quotes have come from an interview that took place before the final. So this isn't a new stuff that's come out. Like, it's come out now, but it was before the final. And then the other one where he said about Madrid, the interview is the way it was released was very much like he stepped forward and said he wanted to kind of go to Spain, whereas the question was, where do you see the rest of your career? And then he was poked saying, do you think that you should go to the Spanish league? So it was a little bit clever with the way they done it. But I mean, if you're coming out and saying that sort of stuff, but the weirdest thing is apparently his future may be linked to Ange Postecoglou's, and that if Ange gets sacked, then he might want to go more. Which, being a defender in this system, it sounds like a bit of a strange one. But I agree with everyone. I think we should definitely be keeping them sorts of caliber of players, and I've said this since I've been on YouTube. The facts is that we sell these kind of players, then we go and buy a player that's not as good, and then we wonder why our quality keeps getting worse, and it's because we don't replace quality with quality. The next two up are goalkeepers, but we've got Kinski. Where do we sit with Kinski, Ryan?
He's just, to me, he's too young. To me, a goalkeeper don't really mature into their selves properly and really show their ability till about probably 25, 26, unless you're like someone who's like a Donnarumma, but that's very, like, you don't find them a lot. So for me, I'd loan him out. Premier League team, maybe a top level championship team, see what he does. If he carries on making mistakes, sell him on. And then for me, I'd keep Austin because of that. So it basically is between the two. One would I'd loan out and keep. But yeah, I'd loan him. Yeah,
I think if it was either or, then I think it would definitely be Kinski that would go out, because again, the homegrown issue going into Europe, or the club trained issue going into Europe, Austin's one of the only ones that kind of qualifiers. So you'd loan Kinski out.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
What would you do, Adrian, with Kinski?
He's like other players we've brought in, isn't he? He's like Dragonson's coming, look good in the Euros, start with us, looked good, made mistakes, got sent off, blah blah blah. Kinski lets the ball through his hand away at Villa, doesn't he? He's also shown to be very commanding in the box, which Vicario lacked and stepped up. It's like with some of these players we've seen too small a sample. And
I agree.
His dad was good. I'll still keep him. Yeah, he's got something about him. He's got a confidence about him, which you need with goalkeepers. You know, he's got a commanding presence again. He's made mistakes. If you could get a blend of him and Vicario, you'd have a world-class keeper. but I mean, yeah.
So I think obviously with Austin, because of the homegrown, the club train, he stays. I think the only thing I would like him to kind of go out on loan, but I just feel like when you look at the options here, you'd leave yourself without a third goalkeeper.
Oh, you wouldn't. If you're sending kids to get out alone, I'm bringing Gunter in. Played all last season in the under-21s. Gunter in. I think he's going to be top notch. But then again, I make mistakes about players before. But what I've seen of him, I like Gunter.
Yeah, he does look good.
Done too well out on loan at Wealdstone, mind. He's letting a lot of goals, but that's also good for a goalkeeper as well, in one way.
Yeah, well, it's hard. It's hard to get loans for goalkeepers, isn't it? What would you do with Kinski, Lubo? Would you keep him in and around the squad?
I thought it was a completely pointless purchase, to be honest, in January. Austin's just come in. He's had a really good game. You've got Keeley and Gunter who are coming through. What is the point? It's just a complete waste of 12.5 million. Just sell him, get him off the books. End of. Pointless. I mean, look at Goldie. I mean, he's so slow getting down. I didn't see the Villa game. I saw the goals. But look at the goal he conceded at the Emirates when Trossard shot across him. So
yeah, there's been a couple like that, haven't there? I think Adrian's right. I think on the ball he seems very good. It's almost like you need a hybrid almost of Kinski on the ball with Vicario.
Yeah, his distribution's better than Vicario's. I think Vicario's distribution is shocking, right? But and he divers too much. You know,
up to March, Vicario's distribution was 93%. I don't know where this whole thing about his distribution's dreadful has come from.
I think it's been recently since he come back from injury. I think he's not looked as assured, which is potentially there's a reason behind that. And as I say, because he's been out a while, because I definitely feel like the start of the season he'd come on leaps and bounds from last year.
It's the distribution amongst the back four that I'm getting on about. I mean, you noticed in the Euro final, right? He kept kicking it long. We weren't faffing about at the back once we got the goal, right? We were kicking it long all the time. What I mean is, you watch him, what he does, what he tends to do, and I've seen other goalkeepers do this, which I find it just exasperates me. When he can pick the ball up, he picks the ball up, right? Now, we know he's got a throw in him because in his first game away at Brentford, he threw the ball to the halfway line. So he's got a bit of a Jennings throw on him. But then what he'll do, he'll drop the ball and stroll on it and slow to distribute it. Now, as soon as you put the ball on the deck, usually two strikers, opposing strikers hovering around your perimeter, they will close him down. Well, if he kept the ball, that's not going to happen. And he ain't got to try and desperately pass it left or right, where his distribution might look great in numbers, but it doesn't look good on the eye test. So this is where I'm coming from. So I don't know what Rob Birch is doing, the goalkeeping coach with the goalkeepers, but I'm not happy with his distribution, whether it's 93% or not. It's just you've got to see it on the eye test, you know. But
do you think that's more just from a fan's point of view, though, where we get nervous? Like if I'm watching City, I just never feel like they're giving it away regardless of the situation. Whereas us, do you feel like just as a fan, we just are on edge thinking, oh, he's just going to give it away, even if actually he's got it all.
I would like him to distribute it quicker. And also, I'd like him to wait until we're set. Because sometimes what happens, they've just had a corner, we've got the ball, and suddenly he'll kick it or throw it out, and we've still got a big cluster of players. Like, you know, in a small group, we ain't even got no one on the halfway line even. You know, so don't get me wrong, I like him as a goalkeeper. I think he's a very good goalkeeper. But, you know, but we'll see. But there's things about his game I'm not happy about, that's all.
What was you going to say, Lubo?
I think that I can't stand it. You know, when he's playing the ball from, we have a goal kick or a foul on him from a corner, and he plays the ball left or plays it right. Horrendous. We have got to, you know, we're on the ball. The aim is to make sure that when we lose the ball, they're kicking off in the centre circle. Mm-hmm. So we start off 100 yards from their goal, which is just ridiculous. Vicario is one of the best shot stoppers in the league. And for me, that's the most important thing for a goalkeeper. He's got to be a bit more commanding in his box for high balls, granted. But as a shot stopper, and we saw this in the last few minutes, didn't we, in Bilbao? You know, he came up trumps again from Luke Shaw's header. You know, Kinski wouldn't have got down to that. So for me, play it long. He should be hitting Solanke every time. But for me, going back to Kinski,
yeah,
just pointless buying him. I just didn't understand that. You had Austin, you had Forster, you had Whiteman, you got the two young boys on loan. So Kinski's now the 7th goalkeeper. It's a bit like left wingers we got, isn't it? We've got Son, Yang, Tell, Werner. It's just madness. We sort of just have clusters of players in one position. There's just no thought to the transfer policy at all.
I mean, what's Rob Birch doing? What's the coaching on this? When we kick off in a game, normally you'll find whoever's in the centre spot will pass the ball back, and usually we'll hit the ball left down the wing because we've crowded the left wing. I get that. Percentage of winning the ball is in our favour. I get that, and you're up the field, right? But so when we've retrieved the ball, like Lubo said, from a corner or whatever, right, or a foul, why aren't the players breaking quickly? Where's the drill that Vicario knows where to try and put that ball? right? Rather than faff about at the back. That's all. That's all I've got to say on it, really.
Yeah, I feel like the players are switching between systems, but there's no hybrid between it. It's either they go full out counter attacking like we have been, where we've been successful and sitting back and counter, or there's been we just try and constantly play out. There's no mixing about. There's no like, oh, 1 minute we might do this, but hang on a minute, we'll change it up. It's very much like we're either setting this way or setting that way. So, Chris, going back to the original part with Kinski, would you keep him or would you loan him out or sell him? Oh, you're on mute.
I didn't understand the transfer, if I'm honest with you. Again, Austin stepped in for a game when needed, played really well, got man of the match, I think, and then literally 3 days later he got dropped for
on his
Kinski.
birthday. On his birthday, he got dropped.
And I was just like, the geezer's just had his first game for Spurs. He's played, I think it was against Liverpool as well. He played against, and he actually
No, it wasn't Liverpool, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was his first game, I think, Liverpool. Or was it
Sure.
Newcastle?
No, Newcastle.
It was Newcastle.
and he actually took command of the box. He played
Every
really well.
corner he caught, every single corner he caught.
And it was just a breath of fresh air. And then Kinski come in 3 days later. I think we signed him on the Monday or the Tuesday, and then literally he got registered on the Wednesday and played on the Thursday, I'm sure it was. And I was like, why are we not just... And that was probably my point where I was like, all the youngsters now are going to be sitting there going, he's just got a man of the match performance as his first game. And it's not against the Mickey Mouse team either. It's a decent team. Newcastle are top team at the minute. And I'm like, you can't do that. For me, it's just a strange signing. So he started off well, Kinski, to be fair, when he did play, but then he did seem to tail off a bit and cracks started to show. And again, maybe get him some experience. But I think Forster goes, didn't he? End of the season. I think his contract finished.
Yeah.
Austin played 3 games against Newcastle, then Hoffenheim and Elfsborg.
He was under 21 goalkeeper, but now he's 25, 26 probably now. And they gave him a 6-year contract. So he's going nowhere because he's homegrown. He's going nowhere.
Yeah, it's the club trained aspect, isn't it? It's literally just a case of that we have to have him stick around, and it makes sense having you could argue second or third choice goalkeeper being club trained, because then obviously it counts as part of the registration rules. But yeah, I agree. I do think it was a bit in hindsight. I do think the Kinski one was very, very strange. I think that by the time Austin had his man of the match performance, I think the deal was probably already done, and it was a formality then. But yeah, it did end up looking poor. So would you keep him around, Chris? I think the majority have gone with keep.
I'd probably keep him, but I would also be looking to strengthen the goalkeeping area. And I think if we did bring in another goalkeeper to challenge Vicario,
Chris, we can't have another one, mate. We've got like...
No, but then he goes. If we was to bring in someone, because I don't feel like Vicario's our out and out number one. I think there's too many flaws in there. So if there was an option to bring in a decent first team goalkeeper, then for me it'd be Kinski, that either goes out on loan and again gets some experience in a top league, or he just goes, because I didn't understand the transfer when we bought him. I think we've got adequate backup for Vicario. Obviously,
Keeley had 16 clean sheets. It is 2 leagues lower though, mind you, but
there you go. You got plenty of backup. It's just a strange transfer for me. But
opportunity, isn't it?
I think it would have. I don't think it would have been strange if they brought someone in who was kind of like an experienced head for like a 6 month trial, like because obviously Vicario was out I think he was still out for like a month and a half. So if they brought in an experienced head, then yeah. But because they brought in a youngster, as we've already pointed out, we've got what we believe is 2 very promising youngsters coming up through the ranks. So do you then just put him in their path? So I completely agree. I think we've probably gone with just about keeping him, but kind of laying the land, seeing where we are with it. This one is going to cause some debate if the answer is sell, but there has been some reports today about Heung-min Son as well. So Heung-min Son, Christopher Hubble, would you keep Heung-min Son around? You're definitely not loaning him.
If it's the same rumours that I've heard that you've heard, and it's about Saudi coming in for him, I think if they're going to start throwing around big money, you need to sort of have a look. But club captain, I mean, he's been there 10 years now, finally won his trophy. He is probably on a slight decline in terms of physical and everything else, but I think I'd keep him around. I think he signed a 1-year extension as well, so I don't know if it's 26 or 27. We've got him under contract till, but unless there's silly money being thrown around for him. Plus, I think he's sort of for the market for where he's from in career and that. I think he's that.
Are you
that,
thinking of
that
this like
face.
Daniel Levy? This
No,
is
but
our
that's
this is not. Don't worry about your commercial aspects. You're not getting any of that. What would you do if
in
you was the
footballing
gaffer?
terms. I think if there's silly money being thrown around for him, I think you need to entertain it. If there's not, then he stays for me.
What's silly money in your eyes?
60, 70, 80 million. If that sort of price comes in, I think he needs to go. He's what, 32 now, turned nearly 33.
Hey, the club captain, he's been here a decade and you're selling him at 50 million. Oh, you're out.
The only reason why I wouldn't sell him is because
The commercial aspect.
no. We lack so much in the wide areas, and I just don't trust it. I mean, we had Timo Werner on loan for 2 years, and it was probably the worst piece of business we've ever done. I just don't. Again, it's just he didn't do nothing in the first season. Why would you sign him up again? So if we do lose him, you sort of lose that. You know what you're going to get with Son, although he is on the decline. I think you know what Son can bring.
So you're going with, if you get a 60 million, you're selling him, but if not, you're keeping him.
I would keep him regardless.
It's the last year of his contract, I believe, because we took the extension. So I believe
it'll be another Harry Kane move. Someone will come in with stupid money and it'll get sold because it'll be a financial thing. But for me, I would keep him. Definitely keep him around. He deserves to stay. I would never get rid of it. I'd offer him a contract to the end of his career and just say stay at Spurs.
I don't know what you're doing here, Chris. Are you selling him or are you keeping him? Because you kind of.
He's staying. If it's me, he's staying. But I think if someone starts offering you 70, 80 million for a geezer who's 32, 33 in the last year of his contract, you've got to take it. You've got to bite their hand off for that.
Okay. All right. So we'll put him in. We'll put him in keep depending on the money. Adrian, what would you do with Heung-min Son, the club legend?
What's he got, about 11 goals this season, 7 league or something? He hasn't looked great on the eye test, but he's still our best finisher with both feet. You need his experience going at the European campaign. We lack experienced players. We need his experience. And plus that, he may have lost the afterburners, but away to Villa, when he had the ball, he outstripped Matty Cash, he outstripped Cameron. The pace is there. You know, I mean, you look at Salah, I mean, like as well at Liverpool, I mean, like, age now is like people are putting numbers of age on players. Like, if you're still doing it, he is still quick enough to cause a lot of teams trouble. And then you've got the question of home and away games. Away games, he gets a chance on the break, doesn't he? So, as a squad player, you keep him.
Yeah, similar. We kind of went with what Brennan Johnson we said. Yeah, keep him, but hopefully become more of a squad option because we're upgrading. Yeah.
Yeah, you keep him.
Lubo,
sell him. We never ever sell players at the right time, do we?
Yep.
We just keep them and keep them and keep them. And I'm sorry, this isn't the Sonny that I've loved for years.
No.
He has regressed massively. Now, whether it's Postecoglou and his training, coaching, and playing him wide on the left, when for me, you know, he never played wide on the left, did he? He was always further in pitch. He also relied a lot on Kane putting balls in for him. We haven't got anybody doing that particularly. Maddison for a period of time, but not to the same extent as Kane did. And I think we go out. For me, listen, we bring Solomon back. We have a look at him, and if he wants to go, or Leeds coming with a big offer or whatever. But for me, I'd keep Solomon and sell Stun. I think, but he won't be sold because of the commercial value, which once again it's our chairman, keeping players for the wrong reasons. Sonny's not the player he was. He's still good, but I would go out also. You've got Mikey Moore coming through in the next year or two. Take the money.
What when you say take the money, what would you be looking at? There's a few people in the chat said 40 million. Would you accept that?
Yeah, I think 40 is a good figure.
I'm really split on this. Ryan, you
Yeah.
was nodding along. Would you?
We have to be cautious when we talk about selling players at the right time, because at the right time usually means the player's been playing well, so he's got a good value. So at the right time should mean that you should be keeping them as well. But I get the generalisation.
Yeah, I think it's all down to the contract, isn't it? Son's probably not going to accept being like half in his wages, for instance. What's he on, 190 grand a week? So Spurs are not going to offer him that. So what are they going to offer him? 120, 130? Is he going to take that? And then he goes into the last year. So it's almost like if you get offered
he's only got 1 year.
No, that's what I'm saying. It goes into his last year.
This coming season is his extension.
Yeah.
But would he accept another one? If we offered him a new contract, he wouldn't be getting anywhere near.
But why would we offer him a new contract?
You can't do that at them wages and but you can't do that.
Why?
You've got to see this season. If he smashes it this season, like Salah's done, then you'd probably give him another year. You're going to do it a roll on, aren't you? Just a year by year, if that's the case, until he can play no part.
Salah's always had some sort of physical aspect to him where he's so difficult to shrug off the ball. I think Son's been so dynamic, and for one reason or another now, is it the tactics? Is it down to injuries? Is he carrying something? Who knows? But I've been so split on this. Every time we think about or see rumours that he's going, I'm like, we can't sell Son. But yeah, you've got to get to a point where if he's not around, is it going to be a huge dent to our first 11? Off the pitch, probably. On the pitch, I'm not so sure. Right, was you in agreement there? You'd sell him.
I'd tell him if a Saudi Arabian team or any of them come in and they offered me 20 million, I'd take it right now.
So would Levy.
I'd take it because I think this guy's dropping off so much. The performances in the last 10, 15, 20 games or most of the season, to me, he peaked in that Ange first season when he was up front, and then he's just dropped off. And I think we're doing this Hugo Lloris thing again with him, where we're going to sell him 2 seasons before we should have.
Yeah.
And if someone comes in, says £20 million, like Saudi, you do your goodbye, you have your testimonial, you get your money from that as well. And then you have to let him go. You can't be sentimental about it, especially the wages he's on. We've got such a strict wage structure where you can't afford to have someone because it's Son on 190 grand a week. We can't do that. And if you get rid of that and 20 million and that wage structure, we can go and buy someone and put them on a big wage. I think we just got to. I think it's time. I do think it's time. Perfect time.
There's a few people in the chat that are saying sell, so that's the only reason I'm going to put him in sell, because I'm split 50-50 and we've got, it kind of looks like 2 keeps and 2 sells. Let's go to a couple of the other people that we kind of will probably have some quick answers to. So again, Fraser Forster, for me, that's the end of him at Spurs.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, it goes. See you later.
Yeah. Is everyone in agreement there?
Yeah.
So he's more of a release than a sell, but it is what it is. Vicario, I feel like we could probably get a better goalkeeper than Vicario, but it's certainly not a priority to go for now.
No.
Yeah, so we'll keep him. We'll just shuffle through a couple of them, and then we'll come back to the ones that might cause a little bit more.
Can you just do me a favour and just put Werner on sell? He's
the next one. So I was going to put him on loan because then we could loan him for a 3rd season. I have a feeling that quite happily that one's going to drop into. So we are selling virtually the whole squad here. So we need to make sure we keep 11 at least, because otherwise we are going to be struggling. Regulon is also in here. Obviously, contract situation looks like he's going as well. Yeah. So we'll pop him in. And then let's just go to a couple of the youngsters. We did mention him earlier. Dorrington. If at the moment we've got Phillips in there, would we keep Dorrington, loan him out, or sell him? Adrian, I'll let you go first because you did mention Dorrington earlier.
He's good on the ball, and he's done okay at Aberdeen. He's got himself a nice cup winners medal against Celtic on penalties in the final, didn't he, in the Scottish Cup? I want to see him on pre-season. I want to see him on the pre-season. There's about 5 I'd like to see the academy players on pre-season. He's one of them, because it's sort of, he's older than Phillips, so let's have a look at him. I like him. I would keep him because he plays left centre back. He's 6'3". The other 2 are all 6'4" as well. They're all units. The young kids, Fuskovic, they're all units. I'm keeping him at the club. I'm not loaning him out, but I think he will go out on loan. But I would keep him at the club. I like him.
Chris, what do you think?
If we can get him a good loan move, I'd get him out in the Premier League on loan, see how he goes. But I agree that it'd be good to keep him around as a potential backup for the left side of defence, rather than going out and potentially buying someone that may or may not be good.
Yeah, just a caveat with the loans. The problem with the young players is keeping them is also difficult because you don't want them sitting on the bench all season.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You've got to
I have a
find
feeling
the academy games. They're not going to develop in the academy. Different level.
I feel like one of them will go out on loan. I don't think we'll keep both. I think one of them will go out on loan, especially with even if it's the second half of the season, because obviously Dragusin should be coming back at the start of probably the season. He might take a month or so to keep up to speed. So I feel like we'd only keep one of them. Ryan, what would you do with Dorrington?
I'm the same with the others. I'd loan him to maybe top level Championship, Premier League if possible, and then see what he does. And if he's good, he can come back. But if he ain't great, then try and sell him at the end of the season.
Yeah, Lubo.
Keep, definitely, 100%. This could be a breakthrough season for him. Definitely
Coming back as a winner. Definitely.
And are Van der Ven's hamstrings going to back in or not? So hopefully not. But you're still going to need Dorrington for sort of League Cup games. Sort of standby. He's going to be in the squad for sure. Yeah. No, for me, you keep Dorrington.
Dorrington goes in. We haven't loaned a single player out yet. This one might be George Abbott. He's had a great loan. I think he got goal of the season as well, didn't he? For is it Notts County he's on loan at?
Yeah, Notts County. He was captain of the under-18s, still at 19 or 18. He goes in the under-21. He captains the under-21s. He can play at centre-back, but he's usually defensive midfielder in midfield. And I like him. He did get a pre-season game, but the pre-season game, the game went past him. He was poor. He couldn't get involved in the game. He's definitely going to have a career in a Premier League, but we'll see. We'll see what these start to do. I'd like to see him go on the pre-season tour as well. We'll see. But other than that, he's going to go out on loan because we're stocked with midfielders. So I see him going out on loan again.
Chris, loan?
Yeah, loan for me as well, yeah.
Ryan, loan?
Yeah, same. Yeah, loan him.
And then Lubo, loan, yeah? So Abbott out on loan. We finally got someone who's going out on loan. Let's start now. We've got most of these now are the first teamers. There is a couple more youngsters, I think, coming up. But James Maddison has been splitting the fan base pretty much all season. Some plays the best player we have. Others say that we should sell him. It's your decision to make, Chris.
I'd keep him. I don't think you gain much from selling him. Again, I think he's good to have around. If he can stay fit, then I'd definitely keep him in the squad.
Yeah. Lubo?
Oh, for sure. Keep him. 100%.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm the same. Keep him. See how he does. But if he does his 33% thing again this year, then I'll be looking to sell him next year.
And then Adrian?
Keep. We're going to be playing probably 50 games minimum. Keep. I mean, you've got to rotate the squad.
No, I agree. I think Maddison will definitely. Again, it's about priorities, and replacing him would definitely not be a priority right now. Moving on to the next one, Udogie. A lot of people had some problems with him coming into the team after Spence played so well. But would you keep him in the squad, Chris?
Yeah, I think he has to stay. And then the option would be to buy someone left back to challenge him. I don't think Spence is going to be a full-time left back for us.
No.
So I think keep him and get someone to give him some competition at that left side.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan?
Yeah, exactly same as Chris. Keep him. Get someone to give him competition.
Adrian, I see you nodding. Your agreement there?
Yeah, keep him. I mean, he's had a poor season compared to last season. I thought he's going to be one of the best 5 left-sided defenders on the planet. I still think he's got a fantastic season and he's an absolute tank. But he didn't have a pre-season because he come from that injury. I don't think Ange utilised him properly. He was in poor form. and that gave Spence a chance to come in on the left. No, but I think he's going to really he's got a top-notch player there. There's a top-notch player there.
Yeah, I like him. Lubo, do you?
I thought his second half. Thought his second half in Bilbao was superb. Absolutely superb.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I agree. I think his ceiling as a left fullback, I think is very, very high. It's just about getting the consistency and potentially avoiding injuries.
Do you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is with him. This inverted fullback bollocks. Excuse my French, but it is. He's got to be played in the right place. He was bought as a wing back, which is where he played in Italy. He is a wing back. We need a manager in who's going to play three at the back with Poran Udogie, Strokes, Spence as wing backs, and then you'll see the very best of him. He's not a fullback. You know, he needs working on defensively. He needs a proper coach, and I think if we get a proper coach in, you'll see him flourish. I really do.
Yeah, I feel like he's definitely had his moments this year, but as a whole, last year I thought, as Adrian said, I thought he was going to go on to be absolutely incredible. He had a bit of a slow start, but as you said, towards the end, I think he kind of got back to that sort of form. I have a feeling this one is going to be fairly straightforward. Lucas Bergvall. Adrian, what are your thoughts on him?
I watched him play with your Gardens. As soon as we got linked with the plan, I thought, who's this kid? Because I didn't know nothing about him. I don't think any of us did. Yeah, he's got fantastic vision and a good cross-field pass. He's got that ability to sort of run at a player like Musa and Ndombele and just like shift his weight and go past them as well. This kid's going to be an absolute superstar. He's a lot sexier to look at than, say, an Archie Gray. His ceiling is as high as he wants it to be. I think he's a superb player, what we've seen. To do what he does at his age as well, you're definitely keeping this kid.
Yeah. Ryan?
Oh, easy. Yeah, keep. To me, there's like little whispers in my ear about him, and it just reminds me of Modric. Like he'll have that one season where he just breaks out, and it could be next season, and he'll just be unbelievable. So I'd build a team around him easily.
Lubo?
Fabulous player. I love him. He's a super player. He's going to be. You know, listen, he's 19. He's playing for his international team already.
Yeah, I think he's ridiculous. Chris, I take it you're keeping him.
Well, mate. Yeah, one of the most exciting players at the club, I think, at the minute. So definitely a keep.
I'm glad you mentioned Djurgården. So apparently, Ali Gold went out there to watch him play and spoke to all of like the ownership there and the coaches and everything else. And he was like, "How long do you think that he'll need, like, adaptation wise?" And they went, "Give him 6 months." And then from December onwards, he just went to another level. So I think we should maybe hire them lot in as coaches because they can obviously quite clearly see.
They've actually got another player that's very similar to him. Who's actually starting to do really good.
Apparently, we're looking at his brother as well.
I think he plays right back. I think he's brother.
So then the Mr. Goal line clearance himself, old Mickey van der Ven. What would we be doing with him now? Obviously, the injuries are a problem with him. Is it tactics? That's another debate. But Chris, what would you do with old Mickey van der Ven?
He has to stay. He gave us one of the biggest. I think he got the biggest roar in the stadium at Spurs on Wednesday night when he cleared it off the line. It was, I think, all the Spurs fans in the stadium just started to settle. But all season, his speed has got us out of trouble a lot. He's just so good. He can play the ball as well. Just an absolute class centre back. Definitely keep 100%.
Adrian?
Give him a pay rise and a contract extension.
Yeah.
That solves that one. Lubo?
Yeah, same as Adrian.
Yeah. And then what do you think, Ryan?
Keep.
It's starting to come together. We finally got that 11, which is good. That's always good to see. How about Pat Matassar? We'll go the other way round this time. We'll go to Ryan first. You've got some criticism for him, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't really know like what he is. He has him. I think I've seen a lot of improvement in the last when we've done this double pivot thing, and especially in that final, is he wins the ball high up the pitch. But he's all, to me, he's just all legs. Sometimes he's a bit like gangly. He makes the odd bad tackle, but then he'll have an opportunity in the box and sky at 50 yards. Like, I want to know what he is as a player. What is he? What's his best attribute? But in my head, I was like, for a long time, like, loan him out to a Premier League team and then let him find himself. But you know what? I think I'd just keep him just in the squad rotation role. I'd keep him.
Lubo?
Again, no keep. He'll be personally. I mean, this year has been disappointing, but I think he'll be much better in a proper system with a proper coach.
It's almost like he needs to grow into his body still, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Because he does feel really gangly. Adrian?
6 goals, 3 assists this season. He scores in big games, turns up. In the final, he won the ball in our half, near our halfway line, broke forward, interchange of pass, and I think it was he put the cross in for
Johnson.
Johnson to score. And I mean, like, there's a joke going around, you know, the world's covered with 71% water, Saar covers the rest, right? You know what I mean? And I like him. He's still an enigma wrapped in a puzzle. You know, what are you going to do with him? But for a squad player, you definitely keep him because, you know, he's put it in, he scored goals, and he scored against Man United once. He scored against Man City, didn't he? I mean, like, this was last season, Man United. He scored against Man City this time. He pops up with the odd important goal. And he's got this, like, when he passes the ball, it's like he's like a golfer standing over a T-shirt. It seems the head's to be over the ball. And he's very, very assured in his pass. It's like very direct, you know. Keep him. I like him.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, I think keep him, but I also agree with Ryan that he needs to find the position, what his attributes are, where does he go in the team, and what is his role. But
he always gets into such good positions in the box, but then he'll header it and it'll go near our goal. Like, he's so 50-50. He's like, you can see a player there, but he just, again, he needs proper good coaching. And, well, it depends what manager's there. Do you know what I mean?
He's missed a few sitters, but he's
Sav's in complete agreement with you there. Just needs coaching. I agree. I think I really does. But also, I also think he's a great option in some big games to be able to bring him on or start him where he can just get in and about players. I think he's got such a good engine. Obviously, he does need to be a little bit better on the ball and everything else, but I think he has got that something that maybe some players haven't got in terms of just being able to get in people's faces. Like, if you're going away at, like, your Champions League next year, you're going away to Real Madrid and you just need players to be in and up and about them, then I think he's definitely a good option that we probably don't have. Saar goes in. Jed Spence. I have a feeling I know what you two are going to do, Ryan and Chris, but what would you do, Lubo?
Keep him, 100%. 100%. He came in, Ange took the mickey with him. I mean, he left him out of the Europa League squad, then stuck him on the bench at Coventry. He got him out of trouble at Coventry when we looked like we were going out. Came in a few months later, played, what did he play? Sort of 10, 12 weeks. He was excellent, probably our most consistent player. And then got dumped at the end. And as I say, I think he is, he'll be good again under another coach.
Adrian?
Keep him. He's reputed to be the second fastest player at the club. Let that sink in. I mean, yeah, I'm keeping him. Skillful going forward. When I see him before he actually had that very good game, and why he didn't play against Liverpool in the second game after he marked Salah out of the game when we played him earlier in the season, I don't know. Yeah. He's shown he has got good defensive qualities. When he's tight on the touchline, he's like Romero on the sidelines. Like, he won't boot the ball into touch. You try and find a way of getting out and laying the ball off like Romero does when he's cornered as well. Keep him. I think he's got a high ceiling. I think he's got a very high ceiling.
Chris?
Yeah, I agree. I'd probably keep him as well. I think he's good to challenge for Porro as well. He's obviously, Porro's got different strengths to him, but I think he does bring that element of he will challenge Porro for his position at right back.
And then Ryan?
Yeah, I'm the same. Keep him. To me, he's one of the best one-on-one defensive fullbacks in the league. He's up there with like Wan-Bissaka. You get down that side, and he closes in on you, the chance is probably like 80% chance that he's going to tackle you. But I think we're going to sell him. I'll keep him, but I think we're going to sell him because I think a team will come in and be like, yeah, he'll play. And then if we get a good fee, are you talking 30 million plus? It's unlikely, but if someone comes in, because he's that good, like to be a backup at a top 6 club. I mean, I think he's better than being a backup.
I think he might have put himself in the shop window then by
I
the
do.
second half of the season. Yeah, he sort of give himself he's noticed.
If Ange stays, then I think there is a chance of him going because he's that good.
I think he's shown himself to be a £45 million player, not 30, in my opinion. But that's only my opinion.
Yeah,
I
it's
suppose
people are willing to pay, isn't it? It's people. I think we need to get some wing backs in. So if we feel like we could sell him and bring 2 in for that sort of price, 30, 35, then it's definitely an option. But I agree. I think in one-on-one defending, he's just absolutely superb. Yeah. Next one up, Big Dom Solanke. Would you be keeping Dom Solanke? I've seen a few people have some conversations today about Dom Solanke and whether or not he should be your main starting striker going into a Champions League campaign. But would you be keeping him in the squad, Chris?
The tactics and the way that we play, it needs to suit him. I'm not sure if it does at the minute. He's scoring penalties and he's getting the odd goal here and there, but I just don't feel like he's a good player. I just don't feel like he's showing it at Spurs. I'd probably keep him unless we had the opportunity to sign someone that would be better than him in the sense that they've already got the Premier League experience and someone that we would sign in to sort of naturally just step in. But I would keep him for the minute.
Adrian?
I didn't know much about him before he came. I mean, when you see players as the seasons get older, or you watch the stream when you're playing away to the team he's playing for, and you watch him, didn't really see much about him. Then when the transfer game gravitas, like, I thought, Ange really. I'm thinking, like, what we got? First season in this system, 15 goals and 8 assists in all comps. 20. That isn't a bad return for your first season with a football club. Although I've got to be honest, I've seen so many strikers that are better than the pair we've got right throughout the decades of support this football club. But in the modern game and the way we're playing, you got to keep him because I'm getting rid of the other number 9, right?
What about you, Lubo?
Keep him, but as a backup because we need an upgrade. He's not been used properly. You know, he's had one really good year. And you'd have thought if you're going to spend 57 million on a striker, then surely you're going to utilise him the same way that Bournemouth did. But no, that wasn't in Ange's plans, and he suffered for it. You know, we've been blessed with top strikers through the years, so we need a top centre forward in with Solanke as backup.
Right.
So for me, you
keep but upgrade.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm the same. Keep but upgrade. But you know what? I think we've been catfished by Bournemouth. You know, because if you look at Evanilson, is it Evanilson? How you say his name?
Evanilson.
Evanilson. Sorry. If you look at him and the way they play, and just for example, our game at home to Bournemouth, the amount of opportunities he got was literally exactly the same as Solanke. Them low balls in, bang, tap in. The amount of opportunities he's got, he's come over here. And now I'm thinking, we've bought him for 60 million, but was it the system that got him the goals, not Solanke? So I'd keep him, as I said, but I'd get him some tough competition.
We missed him when he was out injured. This is a thing. So because of the system, then again, you know.
I feel like we did miss it. We definitely missed him when, and I've said this when it was the whole we're going to make loads of changes in the Premier League. I always used him as someone that I would drop, and a lot of people said he's not that good. And I agree, but I just think that when we don't have that focal point, we look so much worse. Like when we was playing with Tel up front, or if Son's gone through the middle, we just look so far off it. We need to have a physical presence up there. And that's why I think he's been key to the system, but not necessarily a key player, if that makes sense. I think we can upgrade him.
I think what was disappointing was that before the injury, you know, you look at the clubs that players score goals against. He scored against City. Scored against Villa, scored against Chelsea,
Yep.
scored against Liverpool. So it's not shabby, but unfortunately, since the injury, he's come back and his hold-up play is nowhere near as good, and he's not scoring goals. And I mean, there were 2 sitters that he missed at Fulham that you would expect him to put away with his eyes closed. So
he got the assist as well, didn't he, for Bergvall in the
League Cup game. That's right, he did. That's so you see flashes.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, you keep, and he'd be a good backup.
And then when he's injured, you're playing Sonny, and you tried Decky at the number 9 as well. When you got the closest thing to Harry Kane is Will Lancashire, and he should have been given more game time, in my opinion. But it's just my opinion.
Moving on, we've got Radu Dragusin now. I think naturally because of the injury, it doesn't really matter whether we'd want to sell or not. But if he wasn't injured, would that be a player that, because that does seem to be one of the stranger signings that we've made. He doesn't seem to really fit the system at all. Chris, would you keep Dragusin or loan him if he wasn't injured? Because again, I think he's out now until the transfer window ends anyway.
Yeah, I'd probably sell him, to be fair. I don't think he's lit up as anticipated. I don't think he's done as well as he would have. And obviously, if you're keeping Ashley Phillips as well in there, I'd sell him. You're not going to get, I can't remember what we bought him for, but I don't think
21 million.
Yeah,
20 odd mil.
You'd struggle to get that back. But again, I think I would probably sell and if we're going to keep Ashley Phillips around, definitely keep him as the backup for the right side centre back.
You got Danzo as well. You got Danzo there as well. So
there you go. So,
left
yeah,
side that we're struggling there.
Yeah. So for me, it'd be a sell.
Adrian?
He looked good in the Euros. Started brightly for us. Got sent off against Karabag. Positional play suspect. Good in the air. He is quick. He is fast. He's developing, isn't he? For the money we bought him, he might as well keep him hanging around. See, because I don't know what we're doing with our centre back situation. I mean, we've got, if Romero stays, you think, like you say, you've got about 7 centre backs to choose from. I want to see Vaskovic given pre-season time. I want him in the squad. Actually, I think he's that good, right? But that's only my opinion again. Yeah. So with Dragusin, I don't know. I mean, the sample's too small. We've seen good and bad. It's just too small a sample. I think there's a player in there, though. Definitely a player in there. But and his agent, was it Florimanea? He's been trying to sell him ever since he's been at the club and thinks he's going to Bayern Munich or Real Madrid. You need to think again, mate. He's got a lot of developing to do. Yeah.
I'd sell him probably.
I really can't make my mind up on this player. I need to see more of him. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm taking splinters on this one.
Lubo?
He was never the player for Angie's system.
No, never.
Was he? He's put him in a 3 again, and he's fine. He's a proper defender, isn't he?
Yeah.
You don't play him in a high line. He doesn't play balls through, through the lines like Romero as well. But he's great in the air. So his asset there in a back 3 would dovetail nicely with Romero and Van der Ven, because they've all got different skill sets. So again, for me, please God, Ange doesn't stay. I've got a sneaky feeling he'll be gone when he's back from his holiday. I think Levy's just waiting for him to get back. He's not going to spoil his holiday. And I'd like to see Dragusin when he's back. It'd be interesting to see after an injury like this if he does get back to where he was playing abroad. So,
he could end up being a second half of the season loan, to be fair, with him.
Well, he is. He's going to be out till Christmas, I think.
Yeah, the last thing you want is to be coming back from an injury and then just not playing, because if you've got Van der Ven and Romero there, just so it might actually end up being a loan deal at the end.
By then, Luke, you'll know we'll know before the season starts whether Romero stays.
Yep.
We'll know in the first half of the season. By the time Dragusin gets back, we'll know what sort of how Mickey's hamstrings are holding up as well. So, we'll be in a much better position when he's back.
And we're a bit top heavy with foreign players as well for the Champions League as well, because we've left Dragonson's only out the Europa League squad because like he's injured basically.
Yeah.
We left 2 others out to make room for who else we made? We made room for Spence in the second time because he wasn't in the first
Kinski.
Euro squad.
And Werner got left out as well.
Werner got left out as well.
Kel and Danso, wasn't it?
Well, Kinski wasn't in it because you had Austin, didn't you? So, yeah. So.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, he left him out.
They're going to have to. Well, it's not. We'll wait and see how they juggle the Euro squad, and then that might, as it's been alluded to by you guys, that might, give us direction on whether we do sell a foreign player or two. Because if they can't go in the European Champions League squad, and I'm a player, I'm going to be pissed off. This is the biggest competition in Europe. It's not as big as the Premier League, but it's next best because this is 15 games and the Premier League's 38. But so that is something. Players will get moody if they're not included in the European Champions League squad. So that's going to be an interesting thing that we can all choose about, I should think.
Yeah. Chris, did you say you was keeping him?
Jagustin.
Yeah.
No, I would sell.
Oh, you tell him. Oh, yeah, of course you did. So sorry.
Yeah.
That is everyone on that one, isn't it?
Mm.
I'm pretty sure we all said that we'd kind of keep him around. Bentancur. So there's obviously been some links with him, Atletico Madrid. What do they say? I think it's like £40 million that they've been saying. I feel like he definitely improved towards the end of the season. What would you do with him, Chris? Keep him?
He's very comfortable on the ball. He had a big injury, obviously, last year, but it's a tough one for me because I don't know if we keep him, you know what you're getting, and I probably would just keep him even if he ended up becoming just a squad player. But again, it would depend on the value that's being thrown around and the offer that comes in for him. It's whether you could replace him with, or use that money elsewhere to strengthen the team. But for me, I'd probably keep him as a squad player until an improvement come around.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Adrian?
Keep
him? Yeah. Lubo?
Well, if Ange stays, you need to keep him because Ange doesn't play with an actual 6, and he played him in a double pivot with Basuma, which looked very good in Europe. So no, definitely keep him. I think Bentancur's a quality player. He showed that. When he came from Juventus, first 3 or 4 months he played under Conte, he was absolutely superb. Got that horrific injury at Leicester, came back, and then Matty Cash smashed him up, didn't he? So he's not really had a chance to get back to his best, and I think he's a decent player.
Yeah, I agree.
100% keep.
Ryan?
I'd sell him.
Really?
Yeah, I'd sell him, and I'd go straight for someone like a João Gomez from Wolves. But again, he just signed a new deal, so that'll cost more. But you can get a decent amount for Bentancur. I think he's had his time. He looked really good in the final again in that double pivot. He looked really good. But I think we should go slightly, I know people are going to have a moan, but slightly younger in someone like a João Gomez or someone who's slightly better on the ball. Because I'll be honest, I don't trust Bentancur's injury record and consistency enough to have him in that pivot constantly.
But it's not like Kane had ankle trouble and he would miss X amount of games through his ankles every single match. Bentancur's had two injuries, and an ACL can happen at any time. You can get your studs stuck in the ground and twist your knee. And the second one was a tackle, which you can't legislate for. Apart from that, and he had that unlucky fall, didn't he, against Liverpool?
Yeah.
I mean, that was again another freak injury in the League Cup game. So
that was weird. That one,
wasn't it?
Such a strange the way he fell and everything. It was the rumours flying around, and it seems like we would keep him as a majority decision there. Ryan, you've been told no on that one, mate. This one might cause a few. Manor Solomon, I think, Luba, I think you've already alluded that you'd kind of keep him around and give him a go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we haven't got a direct winger in the place. And I'm not including Werner in that because Werner can't cross or pass to a player or shoot for Tottenham. For me, Solomon's had a fantastic year at Leeds. He's been one of the best players in the division. We had a very small sample of Solomon last season, and he did okay, and then he got
He looked
injured.
really good against when we had that Burnley game.
It looked terrific.
He looked well
Yeah,
good.
it was absolutely, and he creates, he runs at players. You got to keep him for sure.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'd keep him. I agree. I'd keep him definitely because I think he's better than. I know people might again controversial. I think he's better than Odobert. I do. I think if you give them both 10 games, I reckon he scores more goals and assists more. So I'd keep him.
Adrian?
He had 2 cameo about 15-minute roles at Spurs on the right-hand side. I looked at him, yeah, he's tricky winger. Got a bit of the Aaron Lennon about him. He reminds me a bit of Aaron Lennon, actually.
Yeah.
And then that first away game away at Burnley when we won 5-2, he was actually looking up and he gives Sonny 2 assists for his hat-trick in that game. And I thought, yeah, now he's got the Leeds. He's got about 20 goal contributions, scored the last-minute goal away that got them the championship.
Yeah.
He's got to be worth a look at in pre-season. They should really take him away. I think we'll sell him. I think we'll get 20 mil for him, but which may be a cheap deal for them. No doubt Shaq did lots of income calling for a cut or something. But I mean, he deserves to go on pre-season with us. So we'll see. There was talk of Marseille coming in, but without getting politically incorrect, the makeup of Marseille is not sort of a Jewish, if you get the drift, right? So I don't see him going to Marseille, right? So I'd like to have a look at him. And I'd keep him on his form, but I don't think he's going to stay. If Ange stays, he won't be staying, I don't think.
And then finally, Chris.
Yeah, I think I'd keep him. I'm actually quite excited to see what he can do if he can step up to the levels he's been doing at Leeds. He's actually played really well for Leeds, so it'll be interesting to see if he can kick on and show it in the Prem.
Yeah, I'm not sure on him, to be honest with you. I know that he's done great numbers in the Championship, but there are certain players that do great numbers every time they go into the Championship and then can't bring it up. I think he's a good player, but I think exactly what you said, Lubo. We don't really have a player like him, and I feel like because we don't have a player like him, we almost feel like he's at another level when I don't think he is. I think we need to go. I don't think we could go into a Champions League campaign with Solomon as a left winger sort of thing. So I don't think he's a bad player. I think I think they're all much of a muchness, which is probably one of our problems, is that we've got so many players in the same positions and they all kind of offer good things on occasions and then bad things on occasions. But I suppose he's got that little bit more experience. Maybe he'll be a little bit more consistent. But one of the players that he would be rivaling is Odobert. What is everyone's thoughts on Odobert? I mean, Brian, you kind of doesn't sound like you're his biggest fan.
No, I just think he's a Wilfried Zaha with that. Well, he didn't really have end product, but he's just like a box of tricks. I don't think he knows what he's going to do. Like, there's no end product at all. Like, no end product. And to me, he's got to be loaned that Premier League team. If he's good enough and he has a good season, bring him back and push on. If not, sell him on. Because I think for the money we've paid for him as well, it was such a weird signing. If you're looking at Burnley, that Colio show was so much better than him. And the fact that we've spent, I think it was like 25 million.
Yeah.
Like, and we went and got him. Yeah, and there's so many other good wingers out there that we could have got. And we went and got him, and he barely cameoed for Burnley in the league. And yeah, I'd loan him out. I'm not his biggest fan.
Lubo, what are your thoughts on?
Exactly the same. I'd loan him.
Loan him, yeah?
With me, yeah.
Adrian?
Keeping him. He came out of the PSG Academy, went to Burnley, as your guest said. When Vincent Kompany was there before he left for Bayern Munich, was really raving about him. I went and checked his stats. At that time, before the Euros, they were level with Nico Williams. I know we'd all take Nico Williams now after what he's done. But no, I'm keeping him. I think he's got a very high ceiling. Yeah, he scored a few goals. So I think he got 2 in one game, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'm keeping him. And his repute, I mean, Sonny now turned around. Before they used to say, like, Maddison was the most skillful player at the club. The word from the training ground is that Odebert's the most skillful player at the club. But he's still got to produce the goods, whether you're skillful or not. But I'm keeping him. And he's only just signed, so he's going nowhere.
Yeah. Chris, would you loan him or keep him?
I'll probably loan him unless we never made the purchases in the summer and we needed that sort of backup for the first team, then I would keep him around the squad. But otherwise, initially, I would try and get him out on loan, I think, and give him some solid experience.
I think we're gonna go with keep. because there does seem to be in the chat quite a few people saying keep as well. We've got Basuma up next. Now, this, I think, towards the middle of the season, I think everyone would have had a certain view on him. Now, maybe that's changed, maybe it hasn't. But Basuma's form definitely towards the end of the season improved. So, Lubo, would you keep him in around, or would you think it's time to go now?
I'm keeping. I think, personally, over the 2 seasons, he's probably been the biggest disappointment for me after how he played at Brighton. But he's played under a coach who's not a coach, so I'd like to see Basuma under a proper coach, and then judge.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm the same. Put him in a double pivot under a different manager, and I think he'll be a lot better. The game that always comes to mind to me with him was at the Emirates when we was unbeaten in the first 10 games. I've never seen a Tottenham player in years control the ball and control that midfield and be so calm on the ball near our own box at the Emirates. He was so good. But then since that Luton sending off, he's just... But then he's slowly getting back to it. I'd give him one more chance under a new manager.
Yeah.
You can't say Ange out, Ryan. We've already had this discussion.
Listen, I didn't say Ange out, did I? Then what's it?
Adrian, what would you do with Basuma?
I'm selling him. Sooner he's gone, the better, as far as I'm concerned. He had 3 suspensions last season, lacks discipline as well. And then he comes out with statements towards the end of the season with oh, you'll see the real Basuma now. Well, you've had enough chances to do it, and you have played well in the last few games in Europe, and fair play to you for that, but you've owed us that. I'm getting rid of him. The sooner he's gone, the better. He just hasn't got the consistency in him.
Yeah, consistencies definitely seem to be an option, but again, there is an argument that is it down to the manager and the tactics. Chris, what would you do with Basuma?
Again, I think it's another one where it's probably since he had that incident where I think he got caught with the laughing gas for the balloons, and he had the club's discipline as well. Since then, it's sort of he went a bit missing, and then he's towards the end. I think he's had to step up because again the injuries and the big games that are coming up. I think he probably wanted to get his name on the team sheet, and he's had to step up and play. I think what Ryan said spot on. I think with another manager, I'd probably give him another chance if that's the option. But if Ange stays, I think you'd probably sell him and try and get something else.
Yeah, he also, when Ange sat down and had a word with him and said that you need to be a little leader in this dressing room now because you're one of the older players and this, that and the other, and the next day he was late. So that is the typical kind of Basuma vibe. But yeah, I think maybe the last couple of weeks, which is poor, I guess, as a sample size, but I think the last couple of weeks may have saved him. But again, I still feel like we need to go out and get a midfielder that will be first choice, and then Bentancur and Basuma are either rotation options or backup options, whatever you want to call it. We've got a couple of youngsters coming up now. So Yan Min Shuk seemed to play pretty well on loan at QPR, but not really pulling up that many trees as far as I'm aware. Chris, what would you do with him?
Probably give him another loan out. I don't think he doesn't seem to be ready for sort of Premier League football yet. So maybe get him back in the Championship and get him some experience out there. So definitely a loan for me.
So you're going loan, Adrian. You same as that.
Loan. He is quick though. This kid is quick, but loan. Too small a sample.
Yeah, I agree. Lubo.
Same again. Loan.
And then Ryan.
Yeah, I'd loan him back to QPR. Get him comfortable in London, get him comfortable here, then see what he season after.
Yeah.
Maybe even go back, maybe even stay at QPR. Yeah. QPR, definitely. The Mola J. Now, a lot of people, I've seen it go absolutely crazy about the amount of times I've seen loads of people say that he should have been playing games for Spurs towards the end of the season. Now, I looked at his stats coming into the, I know he scored on his debut, obviously, in the Europa League, but for Premier League 2, Spurs are, funnily enough, I think they're fourth bottom, and his stats are not very good neither. So I feel like we probably see the very, very best of him when he came in. But saying that, he was a player that beats a man, which is exactly what we wanted. So what would you do with him, Chris? I think he's 19 now, so he's probably needing to play some games.
depend on the position he's going to play, because from what I've heard, he can play sort of across the front. But for me, again, I don't think he's ready. Doesn't seem ready. He played well when he come on in the Europa League. Obviously, scored his goal. But for me, I'd get him out on loan again, probably get him a good standard loan, and get him playing some regular quality football.
Yeah, Adrian, loan.
Yeah, he's played as a cam. He can play on both wings. Yeah, he's got something about him, but loan. He's got to go out on loan.
Lubo.
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see more of him. He came onto the pitch, swanned on like he owned the place, scored a great goal, and then he got dropped. Didn't, not to be seen again. Again, another nonsense from this manager. Just,
Right.
Keep.
Ryan, what would you do with him? We're 2-1 at the moment.
I'd loan him out as well. I'd loan him.
Yeah.
Play men's football.
Yeah, I think we've got quite a few wingers as well. We've got Odobert, Solomon. Who else have we got coming up? Oh, no, it's only them at the moment. Oh, Johnson as well. Maybe there's a few more coming up. Pedro Porro. What would you do with Pedro Porro?
That's an easy
Right.
one. Easy one.
I think it's easy. Yeah.
Keep.
All in agreement. He stays good.
Oh, Christ, I'd push him forward as well. I'd bring Spence in at right back, push Porro further forward.
If we can't get a proper right winger like an Embuemo or a Cherky or someone like that, just play him and put Spence right back.
Absolutely.
I would 100% do it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we haven't seen that, to be fair. We see it the other way around. We actually see Spence go. I think we was really lacking pace in one of the games, so Spence went up to right wing. But yeah, I agree. Another couple of youngsters coming up now. So Jamie Donnelly, after a very, very impressive move to Orient, I thought if Orient came up, they would keep him. But now, obviously, they stay in League One. What would you do with Donnelly? Would you take him on to us, give him a whirl, or loan him straight out? What would you do, Chris?
I think it's a toss-up between keeping one of the young strikers. You've got Donnelly, Lancashire and Scarlett. They obviously can't stay at the club. So for me, out of them three, you've probably got to keep one, because it looks like we've not got to it yet, but Richarlison for me would probably go. If we bring in a striker, it would be good to have a youngster around the first team who knows he's going to be getting some minutes here and there. But I think out of the three young strikers we've got, you've got to keep one who I don't know, so potentially a loan for me.
Donnelly loan, yeah. Adrian?
He came from Northern Ireland, didn't he? As a striker, as a kid. And Wayne Burnett converted him into a number 10. This kid has got a wicked killer through ball on him to play strikers in. I want him in the squad. I want him in the squad. I mean, he's done well at Orient. They may put him into a championship team next year instead. I think he's good enough. And, I mean, the guts was ripped out the under-21 side. I watched all the games last season, but because they've all gone away, that's where they're poor season, because they're just going through a period of evolution again, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he made so many things happen. He's got a couple of good wonder strikes at Orient, scored 2 goals, one goal from the halfway line and things like that. He's got great vision, which is what you need to get a goal like that anyway. I think this kid's a real talent. But you never know whether they're going to make it, really. But I'd like to see him in the squad. But the point is, when you finish the show tonight, without any new additions, we'll probably have more than 25 players anyway. It doesn't say a bad thing about it, but it's a good thing in one way,
Yeah, definitely. Lubo, would you?
If they're B-list players, it won't matter so much, because about Europe, if they're B-list players for Europe, it's different,
Lubo, what would you think of Donnelly? You've seen him quite a few times live this year, haven't you?
I have, yes. His form veers, it's fluctuated a little bit. Me personally, I'd sell Kulu. I'd bring Donnelly into Shadow Madison. That's what I'd be doing next season.
So in and around it.
Yeah, definitely having. He's not a starter. He's not good enough to be a starter. But I think I think with Madison there, we are short of a 10. We saw that. I've been on podcasts in the last couple of weeks, and we're all talking about there's no Bergvall, no Kulu, no Madison. Who's going to create for Spurs? And nobody did they? we were so short of creative players. I'd have him in as a backup. Let's see how he goes.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'd keep him. His passes are like, again, I'm not saying he is, but he has like these little like twinkles of De Bruyne about him where he just fizzes the balls, like especially low balls, and just I'd have him. I'd keep him definitely.
He goes in. You might be right. We might have a huge squad. We'll have to sell loads of them to get into Europe, but it is what it is. We mentioned him earlier, Chris. So I think you said sell Richie, yeah?
For me, I think Richie, it's time to go for him now. He's not really shown too much, and I think it's time to cut our losses and go.
Yeah. Adrian?
Yeah, Everton need a striker, as Calvert-Lewin won't sign a new one. He'd probably go back there. I don't think he said if not, he's come out and quoted one of the sources I went to, so said that I'm not going anywhere. I might see out this year at Spurs because the World Cup's next year and he wants to be in the Brazil squad and he's just been called up anyway. But I'm selling him.
Lubo?
Sell. He's made of glass. He's always injured. Good player. Shame he's got such an injury record.
Yeah,
but,
I like
and he's not prolific either. You know, his goal record is very similar to Solanke, and we need somebody who's a level up.
Shout out for his work rate in the final because he did
Absolutely fantastic. He ran himself into the ground, didn't he?
Yeah.
I liked his statement afterwards. I thought that was quite cool as well. Ryan, Big Rich. He's selling, yeah, I definitely feel like we should be looking to upgrade. Will Lancashire, you mentioned him earlier. Someone mentioned him earlier saying he should have played more. Yeah. Obviously, if Richie's the one that goes out the door, we've all said that we probably want another striker. Is Lancashire enough to be a backup, or would you just load him out?
No, I want him in the squad. He had over 23 goals for the under 21s in its season, over 30 games and all. He's the closest thing to Harry Kane. That's a big call, but Kane did crap on his loans to Millwall, Norwich, Leicester, whatever it was, before he came back. I remember Van der Vaart saying, he's crap. And he did turn out to be a one-season wonder, Kane, didn't he? Lancashire, I like the look of him. He got that goal away at Galatasaray, but then he spoilt his copybook by getting sent off, didn't he? So I'm keeping Lancashire. I like him.
What do you think, Lubo?
Yeah, much. So I'd like to see him give him the run. If he's not up to it, then you sell him. But give the kid a chance. Is he overrated? I don't know how he's rated, to be honest.
Yeah.
I actually spoke to a West Brom fan on X about him, and he said that when he came to the club, he was just so unfit that he was nowhere near ready. And then towards the end of the season, he was basically picking up, and he said that he'd love to have him again. He thinks that with a pre-season, he could end up being a very good championship level striker this year.
That might be perfect. And Mason going there.
Mason going there with maybe Davies.
Well, you know what? It's how you look at what do you do with Scarlett as well, and that will have a bearing on what you do with Lancashire.
Yeah,
I would keep Scarlett. He was 17 when I first saw him playing. He was head and shoulders the best player on the pitch, and now he's 20. So he must have done his 3 years to qualify as academy trained.
Yeah, I think he will be one of them that would count.
Yeah, so Lancashire is young enough to go on the B list.
I'm sure without signings, the only three that count as club trained are Austin, Scarlett, and I think Devine counts as well, because I'm pretty sure we signed Devine when he was like 16, 17. So I think he counts. But again, it's whether them three are good enough to be in a Champions League squad anyway. If they're not going to play, there's no point having them in a squad. So Lancashire, we send, all right, potentially if we say with a West Brom, we go with a loan. Then we've got Josh Keeley. So at the moment, we've already got 3 goalkeepers. So I take it we would probably send him out on loan.
Yeah.
Or sell him.
He goes on
loan. Absolutely.
No, I think if anything, he'll. Well, I think one of them will have to be sold. I don't think Gunter and Keeley will come through. One of them will have to be sold, but I think
you got Maguire is took Gunter's
Yeah.
place in the under-21s.
hmm So Gunter, I guess, would be the same. Would either be a loan or, selling now.
Yeah.
Loan.
Would be virtually nothing. I mentioned him earlier. Dane Scarlett. What would you do with Dane Scarlett if we're putting Lancashire out on loan? Would Scarlett then become the option as the third choice? Being that we probably need to sign a striker, what would you do with Dane Scarlett, Ryan?
Keep him for Europe.
I'd sell him. I think he's had a few loans and that. And for me, if Son does stay, then for me he's the backup striker that you bring on for me in my team. So to me, there's no place for Scarlett, and he's had a lot of loans. Sell him there, 5-10 million, and then put a little buyback fee. I don't know, or percentage of a sell on. And I think that's what I'd do.
Lubo?
Hard one. It's a hard one. You keep him
I feel
alone.
like a keep or a sell. I don't think he's alone. Because
No, it's either, it's one or the other, isn't it? Lancashire or Scarlett. And I'll be honest with you, I've not seen enough of either of them to actually make a decision. So I don't know if we're sending Lancashire out on loan, then I suppose we keep Scarlett. And then make a decision at the end of next season.
Yeah,
both of them can go on the B list. So you could see this is the thing you've got to consider as well. So if the squad is bloated, it's all right if they're B list players.
Yeah,
So,
but then as you said, what last thing you want is two youngsters on the bench not playing at all. If Solanke plays all the games, so it's like
that means you have to be B list and under 21 players, then don't they?
Yeah. What would you do with him? Sell him, loan him, keep him?
Oh, he went to Ipswich, didn't get much game time because they got promoted, didn't they? He went to Oxford, he scored 4 goals in 20. Every time he's sort of like been parked to the side, he gets called up for England and he scores.
Yeah.
He's going to have a future in football. I don't think it's going to be with Spurs for Europe next year. And we don't really know what the final shape of the squad's going to be. He's a good finisher. I mean, he got that goal in Kane's last game, the 5-1 against Shakhtar Donetsk. He got the 5th goal after Kane scored 4, the swivel in the box. His anticipation was good against Elfsberg, wasn't he? When he came into the box and met Decky's left wing cross and headed it home, right? The kid's got something about him. I see him at 17. I thought, this kid's got something about him, but they're not all going to make it. He may end up being sold, but I don't know. I mean, if I had to choose between him and Lancashire, I'm going with Lancashire, but because I've seen him score handfuls of goals, basically. But
it's just one or the other, I think.
I think he's going to get. He's only 20. Look, he can go out. Look, give him a loan. He's 20. He's 20. He might be 21 now. Tell a lie, right? But you can go out alone at 21.
Chris, you've got the deciding vote here. We've had 1 sell, 1 loan, 1 keep.
It is tough because, as you say, his loan records have not really been that great. So we've not been able to actually see what he can do. And then
that's the problem at Spurs, though.
Yeah, the
bar
loan
this year, we've always been terrible with loans.
He's gonna come back in January and either gone back out again, and obviously this year he stayed. But again, you don't get to see him that much. So is it the wrong loan move, or is it that he's gone there and for whatever reason he's not good enough? His attitude's wrong, whatever it may be. I doubt that. But if you've not got a youngster that's staying within the first team as an option as a third choice striker, then I think you keep him.
Right, he's going to stay then. You're keeping him. We've got Danzo, which I think everyone's probably he's probably staying anyway. Yeah. So the last 3 that we've got is Tyrese Hall. Is quite highly rated within the youth setup. What would you? I don't think he'd be in the first team squad personally. I think he'd probably be more of a loan. But what do you think on him, Ryan?
Yeah, I remember watching him. I think we played Newcastle I think it might have been May. It was after the season. And he looked really good in centre mid. He looked really good. So for me, I'd loan him out. I'd loan him out to a championship team. He's obviously got I feel sorry for him because I think he's been put in the shadow a bit because of obviously Mikey Moore coming through. But yeah, you watched that Newcastle game. I think it was last May, I think, or maybe
Yeah,
the
I
month
think I
before.
remember it.
Yeah, it was 1-1 straight after the season. And he looked really good. He took on his man. He got the ball, was comfortable against some good Newcastle players as well. So I'd loan him.
Lubo? Lubo?
Go on to the next person. I'm undecided. Go on.
Adrian?
This kid is so skillful, but he got a pre-season game, didn't look that great. When you watch him in the under-21, he's got the ball carrying ability of a Gascoigne. You know, touching and moves to Dembele about him sort of combined. I mean, like, could do with a bit more
Sign him
meat
up.
on him. Yeah, could do with a
Maybe
bit more
captain.
meat on him, but he is very skillful. But
Mm.
he's one of those players. He'll in there, he'll dominate the game, or he does drift out of some games. But he's young. I mean, like, he's got time on his side. He goes out on loan, as far as I'm concerned, but he's very skillful. Very, very skillful.
I saw him 3 times last season in the Youth Cup run. He gets the ball and he just glides past players.
Hmm.
Yeah.
He played. He had a few minutes. Ange brought him on, then took him off very quickly at QPR in a pre-season friendly, and he looked way out of his depth.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so I'd go for a loan.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, loan for me as well. Give him that experience.
Loaning him out. Alfie Devine, seemed to have had a pretty decent loan spell. Was hugely highly rated when we signed him, but getting on. I think he's about 20 odd, but he's probably now at a do or die stage in his Tottenham career. If he don't make it this year, he probably won't. What would you do with Alfie Devine, Adrian?
He was 15 when he scored against Marine in the FA Cup. Do you remember that game away?
Yeah.
and like, I've been watching him, and he had loans at Port Vale and somewhere else. And like, he's not frightened to step up and take the penalties, the free kick, take on responsibility. He went to Portsmouth with Ashley Phillips, didn't he? And they changed manager. This is where this club needs to get his act together on these loans. If you change manager at any time, we can bring a player
Plymouth,
back.
was it not Plymouth?
Plymouth, yeah, whatever, right. So then he's got a Westerlo with Luka Vuskovic, who's been absolutely smashed it there as well. He's like number 10, can play right side of midfield and all that. Again, he's a quality player, and he just lost a bit of it because the manager didn't play him at Plymouth. So I've always liked him. I've always liked what I've seen of him. I think he's probably going to get another loan. I would loan him, yeah, again.
Chris?
Yeah, another loan, but the correct
Sam
loan again.
Ryan?
Yeah, I think another loan. I think he's been unlucky because we've had obviously like Jamie Donnelly and Mikey Moore in the attacking positions. I think he's just been again another one who's been pushed to the side a little bit. Because I think if we wouldn't have them, he would be a lot more hyped up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd give him one more loan, see how he does, and if not, obviously sell him on.
Lubo, are you agreeing in one more loan?
No, I'll keep him.
Really?
Let's have a look at him.
Mm-hmm.
He's done okay in Belgium. Let's have a look at him.
I've just realised that for some reason the Vuskovic picture never actually come across, so he's not in this squad list. When he is in my folder, but he's not in the squad list. What would you do with Vuskovic? Would you keep him in around the squad then?
Yeah,
Oh God, yeah. He's played top division in 2 countries. He's only 18.
It's unbelievable what he's done.
Goal scorer.
He couldn't be added to the squad because when you had to readmit the squad in January, he wasn't 18 until February. So he had to stay, but we got him a Hadrick split. I think we paid 12 million for him at that age, which is unheard of for Levy to pay that somewhere. And then he went out to the Polish team and then smashed it there, smashed it at Westerlo with Devine. I think he's got 6-7 goals in 20 odd appearances. He's not the quickest.
That's what I'm a little bit worried about. If Ange plays Ange ball, then we might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah. that's the one thing that he's even said in interviews that he lacks is the pace.
And, well, he should have the pace because he's tall enough to have a big stride. So it's something he can build that up. I mean, like he's got to go on the pre-season tour, so they can have a good look at him. Yeah.
I think he definitely goes on tour. I don't think he's one that you get in and loan out. I think he definitely goes on tour, and then they just kind of work out from there where he's at. And then the very last player, which I'm sure is, well, let's see, it might split, it might not. Matisse Tell. So obviously there's a buy option of 50 million. That rumours now is that they're looking at potentially doing a deal of 35. Would you purchase Matisse Tell? Would you? This time it's going to be slightly different. Would you try and see if we can get a loan deal for him, or would you just hand him back to Bayern? Chris?
I'm very split with Tell. I don't think he's a trier, and I think what he wants to do is good. He wants to try and beat the man, but then executing that, I don't think he does it. I think he doesn't beat his man as much as he should be. There's definitely a talent in there, just maybe not right now, and I don't think spending the money on him for Spurs would be the right way to use that money, when I think we can go away and use it elsewhere to guarantee signings for where we need for backup left centre backs, for potentially some midfield reinforcements, and especially when you look at the players that we've chose to keep as well, plus the youngsters coming through like your Mikey Moores. I'd rather them be given the minutes that Tell's going to be given than sign him.
Yep. What would you do, Adrian?
I love this player's attitude. He has got 2 goals. He got one against Villa, which was a nice finish in the cup, wasn't it, late on? And he got the penalty, didn't he? He took the penalty. He's got the confidence to take that penalty.
And he got one at Wolves as well.
That's the goal of the season,
as well. Yeah, I like him. Not for 50 mil, no, or whatever it is. I mean, these prices they're all BS anyway. They're never what they really are. If it's Levy likes him, so I think we're getting him. I think we're getting him. Which, I won't be bothered if we get him. I think he's got a very high ceiling. You can see the talents there, but again, he's not oven ready like so many young players we brought in. Odegaard's not oven ready, and you just think we need a bit of experience in this side. And it doesn't have to necessarily be age, because if you've got experience like Lamar, right, at his age, I'm talking like if they had European experience and all that, that's good. Or Premier League experience when they're younger, then I'm not so concerned about the age, as much. But I'd keep him. I like him. I keep him. That's more instinct than what was the eye test.
Yeah. Lubo, what would you do with Tell?
Send him straight back.
Would you?
I'm sure he'll be a good player in time. He's not right for us at this moment in time.
Yes, exactly what I've been saying.
If we're going to spend, if we're going to offset what Bayern Munich owes Spurs, you go and get Paulinho. You don't get Tell.
Mm-hmm.
What for? Seriously, you've got Yang to come through. You've got Mikey Moore there. What's the point of putting Tell there to block these guys' pathway?
Yeah,
just doesn't make sense. Again, it's just muddled thinking when it comes to transfer policy. Just again, like Kinski, for me, another pointless loan in January.
What would you do, Ram?
Yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. I was excited when we got him, but I think we're just like 3 years too early with him, to be honest. I think, what he reminds me of? I know this is a very weird comparison. Do you remember we got Kevin Prince Boateng when he was really young? And then 4 years later, he's playing for AC Milan in the Champions League, man a match against Barcelona. I think we're like 3 years too early with him. I wouldn't pay no more than 15 million for him at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I've been saying.
Why bring him in? What for?
Yes.
What for?
Might as well loan out Mikey Moore then if he comes in. But what's the point?
You may as well. Listen, we're not even discussed Mikey Moore yet, have we?
He's Mikey Moore for some reason. I don't know what's happened, but they haven't come. There's been 3 or 4 of the youth players that haven't come across. I don't know whether it could only hold, but Mikey Moore hasn't come across neither. But I take it everyone would be keeping Mikey Moore. I don't think there's anyone that would have that would be.
And Ali Stacey as well as a cam. He's a talent.
Yeah.
Sorry, who?
Yeah, he's the other one.
Alisasi, Callum Alisasi.
Olasesi, yeah.
Both of their, all three of them that didn't come over. Mikey Moore didn't, Olasesi didn't, and then who was the other one? Vuskovic. I don't know if it's because their pictures were slightly different, so they weren't in the Spurs ones, but they didn't come across. But I think
Luke, you didn't need to put Werner in, did you?
we did put Werner in. He was on the keep for quite a while, but then we managed to get swayed. That he was.
Chris said he wants to keep him. Chris wants him as captain. He told me.
Never get him gone. 175 grand a week. What? He should honestly be wearing a mask. Burgle that wage, man.
So in terms of the squad that we've gone for, we've got our 3 goalkeepers in there, but we're loaning out quite a lot of the youngsters. But I think, again, a lot of it depends on who stays and who goes. This is obviously a very early chat in terms of where we're at with certain things. But I definitely feel like we want to see some of the youth players come through, for sure, because the amount of youth players that we've put in there, and quite rightly so, I think we're starting to see, I think Adrian touched on it. We had that year in the under-21s where we finished bottom and we should have been relegated, but they rejigged around how the under-21s league works. And the next year we won it. And then this year, we've basically sent them out all on loan.
Paratici changed that structure. And Dean Rastrick left, and we had a strict pay structure. We broke all that up. You heard that some of the staff left, right? And it was down to him. It's interesting here, you've got 24 players here. And we're not even talking about this transfer window. So, and that's a good sign. And look, the academy, if you look across the board, the last time I sourced it, something like 3% of Premier League academy players make it just to be members of their 25-man squads. And you can bet your bottom dollar that most of those that make it and come through from the less wealthier clubs. When you look how long it took Phil Foden to get in a Man City side who hasn't had the greatest season this season, and they had Sancho and all these other players going out. Because when you're in the top, you buy the oven ready, don't you? We don't. But I mean, like, you buy the oven ready.
You'd hope so.
And then look at Chelsea, how many they've sold of their academy players, how many they got on loan. You look at Man City, the same, Man United, and we're going to do the same. But the academy will pay for itself, and like obviously, some of these players will be sold. And we hope that like you get the odd generational talent like Mikey Moore come through. You know, he's probably the best player that's come through at this club since Odell and Perriman. You know, so
yeah. I think Kane might have something to say about that.
and Harry as well. Then, yeah.
I'm glad I went on YouTube then, because when he first burst on the scene, I was like, "Oh my god, he don't look like he could kick a ball straight." And then all of a sudden, he just kept going and going and going. So yeah, I've just literally rejigged the squad around. So we've got the 3 goalkeepers, Porro and Spence as right back options. We've got Romero, Phillips, Dorrington, Dragusin, Danso, and Van der Ven as centre back options. But we did say that probably one of Dorrington and Phillips will leave on loan if the other stay. Udogi is the left back. Gray, Bergvall, Sarr, Basuma, Bentancur, and then potentially Jamie Donnelly in the central midfield as well with Maddison. And then we have Solomon, Odobert, Johnson with Scarlett and Solanke up front. So I think a couple of them are dependent on obviously what we've got and what happens in other positions. I think we definitely need to bring in probably another left-sided centre back or left back, preferably one that can do both, and then a midfielder. But I think that's pretty much a decent enough squad. But I feel like we need to go and make first team signings. I think Lubo alluded to it a little while ago.
We're at least four top established players short for that squad.
Enquiries could play left. He's left-footed. He could play left centre back and left back.
Well, that's what I was. Enquiries, the one for Leverkusen
with Tar and Tap Sardries there.
Tar's just signed for. I think he's just gone to Munich, hasn't he?
He was on a free, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's just finalising. So basically, in terms of that, that's the sort of team that we've got there. The kind of last question, because I've only just realised that it is we'll be going for nearly 2 hours and 20 minutes already. I wanted to just go and see what is the one player and some might have already mentioned it already. What's the one player that you would go out and want Spurs to kind of fight, like just go out and just sign, just get it done early to improve this squad, Chris?
I don't know the exact player, but I think a midfielder, just a solid holding midfielder who's just going to do that job. I think that's what we need, just that to firm that up and have that level of comfort in there. That's who I would go at. That'd be my main focus point.
Central midfielder, yeah?
Yeah.
Adrian, is there anyone out there you think we should just go and get?
If you're talking about midfielder come left side, you either get Eze or you get Xavi Simons, because who's younger. If I had to pick one of those two, I'd go for the younger Simons actually. But like Eze, get Eze in first, Spurs. Show the fans you mean business. Get Eze in first. We got a choice. There's so many defensive midfielders out there. We've got a choice on Edison, Fratesi. You know, you've got Louise, you've got Paulinia. There's a lot of them out there that would improve us. In that area to play alongside a Bentancur or a Gray, you know. So, but Eze, get Eze in.
Question for Lubo: with Ange having 0% win success in his previous Champions League campaign, does that worry you if he stays on? Surely he needs to go. I don't think that's what concerns Lubo. I think everything concerns Lubo with Ange.
I think not having a relegation fight next season concerns me more than anything else with this clown. Sorry, he's just awful. He's just an awful, awful manager.
What player would you like us to go out and sign?
I've got to tell you, I mean, I've listed three from four. Paulinia stroke Douglas Luiz and Eze that I think would light the place up, and Embuemo on the wing. Bring in three out of those four. And I think, you know, the squad looks much stronger, much healthier. You know, it's
when you look at the players that we've got here, I mean, Kulu is, again, we're talking a substantial offer. Son, you're talking a substantial offer.
Yeah.
Richarlison, you're probably going to get a bit in for, probably not huge amounts. Højbjerg, you probably get a bit in for. Gil, you probably get a bit in for. So there's money created there before you've even spent. So we're not talking about like having to go and buy 60, 70 million pound players with no money coming in. Like I don't see that being beyond the realms of possibility, to be honest. Although it's Spurs, so it probably is. But
you've got estimated 90 million coming in from Champions League. Win this Super Cup, which will be fantastic for banter. It'll be great banter's cup to win, really. You got 40 mil come from that. It's 130 mil. Like you say, you got player sales. There would have been some money in the kitty. All right, we had, depending on the latest resources, it was either we owed 337 or that was 297 mil on transfers and agent fees. So even if you paid 50 or 60 mil off of that, you'd still have like really around a region of about 150 mil to go and spend on players, if not more.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse. And like it's down payments. You're not buying, 3 players at 50 mil and the money's gone. It's down payments and how much the selling club want as a down payment. You want Eze, Palace want the release clause, they want the 68 mil. Well, he's got, 1 year left on his contract now? I think you get that down to 50, 55, something like that. Pay it, go get him. I like.
Isn't it time now that we go and sign 50 million instead of 2 or 3 at 30 million?
Yeah,
that seems to be even different.
I'm going to say something. I think the release fee for Eze was 60 million. If you want him, you go and pay it. You don't mess about like Levy did when Mourinho, I think, wanted Ruben Diaz 3 months before City even got involved, and he lowballed the offer. Diaz stayed and ended up going to City. Bruno Fernandes thought he was coming to Spurs. Levy lowballed the offer. He ended up going to United and pushed United through ahead of us into a Champions League position. Levy might have lowballed by 10 million euros, 9 million quid. That cost him 50 million in Champions League money. I'm sick of all this lowballing all the time. They had Zaha, I was told, in the office. He offered 12 million for. I mean, it's Grealish. They had a deal arranged, and then he went back and offered less. It's got to stop. This nonsense has got to stop. If he's serious, Levy's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a proper football chairman or not? If he doesn't, let him sell his shares. I don't know why the club don't float, to be honest. They should just float again, take their money and go. And let's have people in that want to run the club in a profitable way. I'm not talking about being stupid and running it like a fan, like Ridsdale did at Leeds, but people that are committed to football success at this club. This is a real sliding doors moment for our club this summer. And Levy is part of that as well. Levy's part of that. He's got to make his mind up. Do I want to be a proper chairman, or am I just in this for the money? If you're in it for the money, sell your shares. You can make God knows how much. You're going to make a lot more than you make as in a football club. So
we should be able to get 3 quality oven ready players in, and then if that means most of the money's used up that we've got, we should still be able to get another couple on loans or loans to buy. Don't tell me the money's not there. The money's there. I've always argued. I've done a bit of the math. So, and even if I'm out a bit, we've got enough to pay a chunk of debt off. If we hadn't already paid it off on the last financial account, we'd have paid some of that amortised money that we owe on that has to be reduced over 5 years on players that we bought. I mean, admittedly, we've got to pay the 21 mil straight away for Danso. Well, you pay that anyway because he's good. And if he's a better passer than we've seen so far, we've really got a player on our hands for that sort of money. Good squad player for that sort of money. So,
but when you said about the sliding doors moment, it's almost like we've already been here before with the Champions League, and we didn't kick on.
We say every transfer window.
So yeah, but we've come into this window now almost in not a position of power, because obviously where we were in the league, but in terms of where we've reached, it's now like if you go and kick on now, like you've got 2 options. You can either, well, we've made it to the Champions League. How amazing is this? Like we kind of did in the final, or now where we go, right, this isn't enough. We need to kick on. We need a better team. We need to do this year in, year out. So it's almost like you had a sliding doors moment. You got it very wrong. Don't let it get very wrong again, because you've got no excuses now. Because you know what I mean? The last way you did it didn't work. So, Ryan, before we head off, what would there be one player that you signed? I know you've mentioned quite a few today. What would be the one?
I would say Eze, but then thinking about it, if it was one player, like I had to sign 100%, I think I'll go in Mbeumo, because we just need more goals up top. I know Johnson and Solanke, and then obviously I think that's it. All the rest have struggled to score goals. So for me, Mbeumo will be number 1, and number 2 would be Eze.
Yep. I agree. I think Mbeumo would be my star if I could go and get one. I love Eze. I think Eze is brilliant. Yeah. But if I could only get one, I think I'd go and get Mbeumo.
Eze just reminds me of that Spurs player that gets you off your seat.
Like, he does.
Yeah.
I think we will get Eze. I also think, because the other 2 are out of their contracts, I think we're going to get Gomez and Cardoso. All this talk about Atletico Madrid, they haven't got their money. No talks have even started, from what I've been told. So nothing's happened there at all. And the point is, where you're going to spend the bulk of your money and getting your Galactico in like Eze, right? He's the one you pay the money for. And then if he costs you 60 mil in his contract, then for 50 mil you get the other 2 in. So you've only spent 110 mil. And you still, then I would go for Enquiries. He's only 24, Ecuador. Left centre back, left back, can play at those. But, we don't, that's there. I mean, like, that to me would be a good window. I like Fratesi at Milan. I mean, like, been banging on, and I like Vlahovic.
These boys aren't going to come as cover for Van der Ven.
No,
Enquiries would.
You think so?
No, I don't think you would. Why would
he leave Leverkusen?
Now Tar's gone as well. He's going to be.
They've got Champions League football this next season. I don't know what Bayern Munich, Dortmund, usually the top 2, aren't they?
No, Leverkusen was 2nd, Frankfurt 3rd. Can't think it was 4th.
They ain't going to let him go. If Tar's gone, they ain't going to let him go, because now they've got Tapsoba and Enquiries.
Luke, can I answer a couple of questions in the comments? David Spurs have never paid shareholders dividends. Levy gets around it by paying himself a bonus, because if he paid himself a dividend, then 13% non-ENIC shareholders would need to be paid as well. And top
30,000 then.
Sorry,
it's 30,000 and small shareholders.
Yeah. Top G14. What do you mean? We only need 4. We need minimum 6. How many realistically, with the transfer policy that Levy's brought in 25 years ago, how many new first teamers do you think we're going to we're going to bring in. I'm just being realistic. You're probably right.
Yeah.
We might need a minimum of 6. For me, we need a front 3 and a number 6 in the team to
I
start.
reckon we get 2 first teamers. I think we're going to get 2. Then just another random other 2, I think.
The
Again,
issue is the money, isn't it? I mean, like, we don't want to go out and buy 15 million players like Joe Roden. You know,
No,
if we had a poor window, if you only got 3, and if they were oven ready and they were quality, fine. If we haven't got the money to get any more, unless we're borrowing against Champions League money and whatever money, we don't know the full figure. And look, and I don't blame the club for not coming out of it. You don't want other clubs to know you got money, because then they want to stretch the price like. But you never know, they might keep Richarlison. You know, if you get in it's hard, isn't it? Because we know we need to fill so many positions, but we know the money ain't going to be there to bring in 6 quality oven-ridden players. That is not happening, is it? We could get a couple of loans in, perhaps, with 3 quality. I mean, that's my best hope, actually. By the way, hope is not a strategy.
What do you think of Leroy Sané? Would you take him?
I just think it's the wages. I think if he's on 300 grand a week, I just think it's so much more than everybody else. I just don't see how.
But we could get again, but he hasn't done too bad. You could get a Ryan Churchill, but he's 21. You see, I mean,
22 million calls.
Yeah, but then he would be a cheaper option. I don't mean it cheap. He's not. He looks decent when I've watched him. He looks I put a video up in the groups and that, like. But then if you bring him in and he don't hit the ground running, we load of rubbish, right? I could actually see, if you're getting an Eze in, I could see Richarlison staying for the season. I could see him staying. If we're going to get a top class midfielder in, or if we could get Eze and Javi Simons and a Fratesi or someone like that. But then, like, we need a left back. We need a left back and number 9, don't we? And DM, and then you're looking. So will we actually go for Eze? I mean, like, this is the thing.
But then we bidded 70 million for Gay, didn't we? That was like, looking back now, that was a bit like, whoa.
If that's true, was true.
Where's that 70 million though?
That's what I mean. Like, are they willing to? I don't know.
I think that was all. We always seem to make a huge offer for a player that's never leaving at the end of the transfer.
We've still got a lot of money owed to us as well. You got the Kane money. You got Højbjerg's got to be paid for. Gil will go for 5-10 million or something like that. The Spanish club will pay that for him. Then you got. I think Basuma will go. And even people saying, like, you won't get a lot of Richarlison. Well, anyway, just consider this for a second. Calvert-Lewin goes for Everton. They've got no number 9. Brighton have got an aging number 9 that played for Arsenal and Man United, right? Richarlison's value is not in the fact that what we think he's worth. It's the market false. I think you'd still get 40, 45 for Richarlison. No jokes before the pelts come. And I still think you'd get 20, 25 mil for Basuma. I do. I really do, because they're like, he can do a job in a different system, Basuma.
I think the only way you get that sort of money is if Saudi come in. But I don't think Richarlison will go. I think you'd get 30, 35 from Everton. I think because the romance of it, he goes back to the club. They're going into their new stadium. Maybe they'd spend a little bit more than they wanted, and they lose Calvert-Lewin. But I don't think many other.
The thing is, we're actually going to get money for our players, whereas once so long ago we wouldn't get nothing for them. We get some money. Some
of them we even paid off.
If we hadn't qualified for the Champions League, there must have been at least 50, 60 mil in a transfer kitty anyway.
You would expect.
For us not going out, I should think we should be able to get at least 3 to 4 top quality oven-ridden players in.
But again, we were saying the sliding doors moment.
We know when they're brought in, half the fan base won't like half of them, and half the fan base won't like. That's normal.
Of course, that's the same.
But I think we also be happy to get Eze. I think that would unite the fan base on Eze. It's just a question of the others.
I think Mbeumo would be a good shout from. I think most people are in agreement that
he scored. How many penalties he scored last year?
Penalties?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, listen, we've not even touched on, people like Walker Peters, who will come in on a free that can cover both left back.
I think that's pretty much dead cert.
Angel Gomez from France. That's a free transfer.
I think he's a good footballer. He's 5'5", and he's like, mind you, our dealers were short, so you know what I mean? But
But and so was David Silva.
Yeah, Mickey Ginn, others. Mm.
Again, Ange doesn't play with a 6. He's bought 16, 17 players in the 2 years he's been at the club. Hasn't bought a number 6, proper established number 6. So
yeah, but in the summer we only brought one first team ready made player.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
again, we stand that we learn from the mistakes. We can't do that again.
But that was all down to Levy wanting to get the books better because he was trying to sell investment. Trying to sell shares and bring investment into the club. So
as I say, it's just more
that was all a figure exercise, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Last summer. So
as it always is. Right, I think that's enough. We've been going for over 2.5 hours. Probably could go on for a little while longer, but the squad kind of builder and tier list went on a little bit longer than I thought, and we was going to kind of edge into tactics and edge into kind of transfers and everything else. We've kind of touched on it, but I think that's probably time to wrap it up now. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone for coming on. It was something a little bit different today than what we normally do. We normally just ramble on, but we had a little bit more of something going on in this show. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. The chat were very engaged, which is really nice to see. All of the guests links are in the description below, so please go and follow them. I think there's some X accounts in there. Adrian's YouTube is in there as well. And yeah, has anyone got any final comments about Ange?
I've got one. I've got one. Can we do a keep or sell with Ange?
So
we haven't got enough time, surely.
Just one word, keep or sell. That's all.
I'm keeping Ange.
Sure.
I'm
I think
keeping
he's done
it.
right. I think
Right,
he's
so
done
me
right.
and Lubo's definitely sell. So Chris, it's down to you. You're Daniel Levy. What you doing?
I'm Daniel Levy. What am I doing?
Yeah. 2 sells, 2 keeps.
I think he sells.
Well done.
So you think he's gone?
Personally, I don't understand how you can sack a manager who's just won you a cup. The league form's terrible. There's a whole load of stuff going on that I think needs to be looked at. But I just don't think it sends the right message to someone you're trying to bring in. That if you do bring a trophy to the club, yeah, you might have a bad season or a decent, whatever. It's been bad. But it just shows that even though you bring a trophy and you bring that to us, I don't think it sets the right standard. But in my eyes,
don't finish 17th. It'll be all right.
Yeah, in my eyes, I don't think Ange has got it wrong. I think he needs
the list of managers has shortened considerably since we got this Champions League. And also, you've got to take in consideration if Levy brings in someone else and they start off badly or they don't do so well, he also risks the back leg. He's a cunning fox, Levy. I think he's keeping Ange, even if Paratici comes in July.
Got to say this, how much worse can he get than 5 points from the last 12 games? How much worse can any new manager be?
Well, we can only express opinions. I mean, and the fan base is still in euphoria, so you probably got...
For 90 minutes, everybody just washes away all the shit we've watched him for the last 10 months.
Well, they will, because we haven't won a trophy for 17 years. I mean, and there's a lot... I mean, I've experienced now lots of Spurs trophies, right? But others haven't. But, so... I mean...
I just think some of the names that were mentioned are now almost obsolete because... Yeah. You're now in the Champions League, and they're not managers that are coming in to go into the Champions League.
What do we
do
if we're like 12, 15 games in and we're sitting 17th again? He's going to have to be sacked.
If you got to look at the impact this has onto players and through the club. When you get a kid like Mikey Moore, 17, who's got a Europa League winners medal. Ajayi's got one. Even Werner got one, for Christ's sake, right? I mean, you got 50 medals given out. The confidence and belief it's going to give them players. This squad will perform so much better next season. Always happens.
I agree with what you're saying, but 5 games in and we've won 2 out of 5, I think that all goes away. We lose the first 2 at home.
I completely agree.
So then
I think what you're saying is, and what everyone's been saying about that is that why would you give him a load of money and then it's not? But I think this is our problem, is that we should have a structure in place where if we're signing a player, it's not for this manager, it's for a system that we want to play. It's a way.
There is a recruitment team. There is a recruitment team. The thing that's really annoyed me about this football club is, if you've got a football philosophy, which was known as the Spurs way back in the day in the 60s when I watched the double side play, right? If you've got that football philosophy, you carry it onwards. You have your reserves. Now you've got academies. You have them all playing the same way. And if it was with Spurs, which was an attractive attacking style of football, that's the way you play. Then eventually when your manager goes for whatever reason, right, you bring in a manager that suits your football philosophy at your football club. Now, he doesn't have to be a world-class name if he doesn't play the Spurs way. And then you're bringing – Hoddle tried to do this at Chelsea, tried to get all the teams playing the same way, right? And this is the issue. Then you've got someone who comes in, because now you get fans say, well, what if you bring a manager in that plays a 3-4-3 or 5 or whatever? He's going to want his own players and all that. Well, that shouldn't happen. The players should already be there to play through one philosophy, which is your football club, which we've lost. And we lost it when we bring in Mourinho and Conte, because that's nowhere near the Spurs way that I was brought up in. We lost it. I'm not saying they ain't good managers and got fantastic records. They are at the right team, but they weren't for us. They were wrong. They weren't the right fit. Mm-hmm. So, we still haven't sorted this out. This philosophy at this football club.
Hang on. What did you think of the football first season Conte was at the club?
Some of it was good, some of it was awful. When you go to systems like that, my take on it as a season ticket holder was like, great when you win it, great when you win it, and he's getting all these goals out of Son and Kane.
We went from 9th to 4th.
I know. I'm not watching it. But when you're watching it when it isn't going well, when you're watching that counter-attacking football and you're losing games, right, it's the most painful watch I've seen since we got relegated in 1977.
And what do you think this season was, Adrian? This was the most painful watch. Do you know the relegation year was better league-wise? They got over a point a game. If they'd have been on 3 points for a win in 77, they'd have had 45 points from 42. We got 38 from 38. The football this season was virtually, for most of the season, was just rank. It was disgusting. And he just talks and talks and talks. He's a great orator. Everybody falls for this rubbish that he prioritised the league at the end of January. Really? We didn't have a game. We didn't play in Europe till March the 6th. And he went and beat Brentford, Man United and Ipswich in February. What a load of crap. And he just insults our intelligence. The football he has played has been dreadful. He plays 2 at the back. I sat down with David Pleat. I went to a Spurs Supporters Trust evening at the end of October. And this was because Pleat's book had just come out. And Pleat did a whole talk and there was question and answer. And I got there early and Pleat got there early. And I had a chat with him for 20 minutes. And I said to him, what do you think of the system that Ange plays? And he rolled his eyes and he said, well, he says 2 at the back. He says it gives Mickey and Cutie a lot of width. You know, they've got to cover the whole width of the pitch. You've got inverted fullbacks who, you know, the way Ange plays, if it's not perfection, the move breaks down. And invariably it does, because these perfect goals are 1 in 100. And how many times have we been caught on the break with the fullbacks who are weak, who are inverted 10s, which means Maddison's going to come back and pick the ball up off Romero or Van der Ven. How many times are they caught out and we're caught on the break? Just think about all the goals. We've conceded 130 odd goals in 2 seasons. And everybody thinks it's okay because we won in the Europa League. He doesn't have the safety net of a Europa League of 2nd-tier clubs to play against. We're in the Champions League. We're in the Premier League, and we're playing against Premier League players in the FA Cup and the League Cup. So we're now playing. Let me just give you an example. We against the top 10 teams in the Premier League this season, we won 4 out of 20, 2 of which were Brentford. The other two were Villa and Man City. We drew 2, we lost 14. The only team we beat in the Europa League that would get into that top 10 in the Premier League is probably Frankfurt. Because I don't think Rangers will get into the top 10. Bodo certainly wouldn't. Right, we lost to Galatasaray. We got well smacked there. So you're looking now, if we'd have played anybody half decent in that competition, do you think we'd have won it?
Oh, we was batting again. I mean, against Frankfurt, there was every time when we got it was we're going to get beat by Frankfurt, and the next game we're going to get beat again.
Best performance of the season that was away from home.
Yeah, and it shocked everyone. He had to fall and he soared a bit and fell up his tactics.
What system did we play Frankfurt away, and what system did we play in the final? It wasn't Ange ball. It was.
You know what, Ryan? For 2 years, he talked about it's who we are, mate.
Yeah, he changed it.
Well, to win the Europa, it's not who we are, mate.
Yeah.
So So who are we?
So what Tottenham is going to start this season? Because I don't know what Tottenham is going to start this. I don't know. If
I think that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, he's turned around and won the trophy playing that sort of way. So you would expect him to continue it on. If he goes back to the other way, then without there being a huge amount of changes in the players, then it will probably it's not going to end well, is it? So they're the sorts of discussions that need to be taking place, I think. But again, I'll go back to it. Is my problem is that we don't have, in terms of giving him money. Everyone uses Ten Hag as the example. Ten Hag plays a way of football, and Amorim plays a completely different way. So if they would have spent 250 million on players that fitted Ten Hag's system, and then brought in a manager that kind of plays a similar way, then they're not going to just tearing up that 250 mil. Instead, what they done was they completely changed, and it's similar to what we done with Conte. We've gone and signed. We've got 3 wing backs. And then we've got a manager in that plays 4 at the back. Well, that doesn't make any sense. So there has to be some sort of continuation in terms of what we've done. So if we go and sign, say, an Embuemo, then the next manager that comes in shouldn't play, like, I don't know, without wingers, say, because, well, why have you gone and signed an Embuemo? There needs to be some sort of line of thinking from the very top. Levy isn't the man to bring.
Well, that's why I think it's going to be a bit weird, because if you, apparently, again, I don't know, but apparently Paratici didn't like Ange.
Yeah, he don't.
So if Paratici's the one that's going to go and sign the players, he don't like Ange. So is he going to think, I'll sign players, but they're not going to be for Ange, they're going to be for the next manager, because in 12 games' time he's sacked. And it's going to be that balance.
You can add another layer into that, because right, why can't you go and sign players? You can't go and sign players right now because you don't know who your manager's going to be. All right. So who's going to decide who the manager's going to be? Well, that's a director of football that we haven't appointed yet. So there's no point signing the players first. You're best off doing your director of football first. So if you do your director of football first, he then needs to find his manager, and then you need to identify your transfer target. That takes us back.
I don't go with that debate. I mean, like, you can have that argument, but when you start the season, you just bring Solanke in. Your recruitment team should have lists. They all go to these agencies and get these lists. They get the stats on players, all the stats. Then, like, Rob McKenzie might go out, he's chief scout, or Max Legger, he's the first team scout, or you send a scouting team out to watch these players and see what you want. We should already have lists compiled no matter what manager. Managers do not decide. They either agree or disagree with players brought into the club, but they don't have the final say.
According to Ange, he does. According to Ange, he signs off on every player.
You got those two. Then now you'd have Vinny Venakatesham, because he's coming in as the new CEO. If Paratici comes in, that's 5 you've got. Now you've got Ange, right, without anyone else. So they'll all have a say in the recruitment, but no club in its right mind is going to give the checkbook to the manager.
No, it's not the checkbook to the manager. If the manager doesn't want the player, if he's not his type of player, if he's not a player that suits with what he wants,
well, then you get a Conte situation where he won't play Spence.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's why we're asked about face, basically, because we need a director of football before we appoint a manager who can.
This is why I've said, if you've got your Spurs way of back in the day, the DNA, and you've got that same brand of football played from your under-9s legally for under-9s through up to your first team, this shouldn't be an issue. You bring your manager in that plays that style of football, right? It shouldn't be an issue at all. And this is what exasperates me about this football club, because, like, it's so unprofessional. This is why Man United are going through all the crap they're going through as well. You know, and it shouldn't happen to them because they got a fantastic pedigree. Them and Liverpool got the best pedigree in the Premier League, right? And when they go through these periods, these things shouldn't happen at clubs like that. And it's happened because they've had poor people at the top during those periods, like we have. Levy's not a football man. Keep him in business. Get him to do a deal if it's Romero every day of the week. He's going to get your best deal going, right? But this is why, you know, this needs to change. If we've changed the academy, there's been lots of positives. This all takes time, and we're all fed up of waiting. But you know, we need to get back to what our DNA was at this football club.
Name me one player that's improved. Please don't mention Bergvall because he's a young kid coming forward. That's natural growth and development. Name me one player that's improved under Ange in 2 years.
Well, Decky's improved this season on last season to start.
They moved him into his right position.
But you asked me if he improved. You didn't talk about changing position. Do you know what I mean? He's improved, and his goals. He's been overworked. He's played over 50 games, and that's the other thing with the injuries we've had. When players have come back and not hit the ground running, like back in the day when the game was slow, it took 5 or 6 games for players to get back up to speed. Now the game is so fast. It's not so much getting back up to speed. It's the speed of fault between the ears again, right? Making the right pass, you know, making the right decision. This you don't get on the training ground, you know. If you take last year, we finished 5th. Ange did well, considering we started the season without arguably the world's best striker in Kane. We go 10 games unbeaten. We win 8 and draw 2. It's still a record. Then VDV gets injured, who's key for us. Then Maddison gets his ankle done. He's out of it. Then Matty Cash does Bentancur. That's 3 players injured. Romero has 1 suspension. Basuma has 3 suspensions. The players go away on international duty and come back, right? And we finish 5th from a clueless manager. Well, not for me, it's not. Not for me. I'd like to see. Yeah,
let me say this, Adrian. From match 11 to match 38, if the league table had been taken on that, take out the first 10 games, that was an anomaly.
Yeah, but you can't do that, you see, because you're
I'm going to show you a trick.
The narrative to suit a false argument.
It's not false. It's not false. I'm going to prove it.
Over the 38
I'm going to prove it. Over those 28 games, we would have finished 12th. And this year, we finished 17th. We've lost 34 games out of the last 66. Think about that. You've been watching Spurs probably as long as
in 2 seasons. Where did we finish last year?
5th. Only because of the first 10 games. It dropped off after that. It dropped off.
5th because of how we played over the whole season.
Right. But we've gone from 5th to 17th and you're still supporting this guy. Jesus,
I want him to everybody. You've watched a clear run. I have never known such an injury list in the history of this football club. And
why have we got the injury list? Why have we got the injury list? Why? You tell me.
Why?
You know why? He trains them in match conditions. The medical team tell him, slow down, slow down. They're in the red zone halfway through matches, for heaven's sake. Why do you think so many hamstrings have been pulled?
That's not right, Ian. That's not right.
It is right. I spoke to a
players have said we aren't. When you get into a season and these amount of games, you are not training. You are not training.
You make every excuse for this guy.
And he said that, right? He even said we are not training. He's given players a day off on a Monday, then you're playing a game every 3 games. You haven't got time to do that.
But I've never heard of this before. We've been in Europe for like 20 years straight.
It's never Ange's fault, is it?
It's not all hamstring injuries.
Where are you? You have watched football from the Nicholson era right the way through here.
Yes.
And you're supporting this guy. You've seen all these players.
He deserves a free run at this season. If you look at it from Levy's point of view now, if you're Levy, I'm not a fan of Levy, but if you're looking at the Levy's point of view, he's got a lot to consider on this because, like,
he's got a massive
manager is a big decision for him to make, especially if he gets it wrong and it doesn't work out. Especially if the manager's won a trophy, the first trophy in 17 years, and first European trophy in 41 years. right?
Fantastic. He's got the monkey off our back.
I don't believe he's
How we need somebody to take the club forward.
fair enough, David. That's your opinion.
But the other part of that is that it's whether you believe that the person that he's going to bring in is the right person to take us forward. Like if we lost the Europa League, for instance, and we had no Europe, you can kind of bring in someone fresh to do a brand new kind of start. You got a brand new block. You kind of start your base again. But now, if you bring someone else in, like so let's say there was rumours when it all came around, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to keep Ange was basically Thomas Frank, your Marco Silvas. I wouldn't want Marco Silva or Thomas Frank to come in and take us into a Champions League. I don't see them making a huge difference to what we've got now.
Everybody,
if we're talking about a Xavi, if we're talking about Inzaghi or someone like that, maybe different.
Frank has done a fantastic job on a limited budget in the Premier League.
Frank.
Xavi has no experience.
Fair enough.
No experience. And Hansi Flick came in and took Barcelona several levels on from where Xavi was.
But the thing with Xavi is that he comes in and does. We're obviously on a youth project, and he comes in, he plays the youth players. He's the one that gave Yamal his debut, and he will command respect instantly. So you're bringing in a certain caliber, whereas the others, I don't think are. There's no point, like we're saying about players. There's no point.
If you're getting rid of Ange, you get rid of him now, and then you get the new guy in. But Ange's security of tenure increases with every passing day.
Yeah.
Right. It does, because then you've got the next argument. People saying about management and players. Well, like I've gone on about earlier, if you had a football philosophy at the club, it wouldn't matter because you'd have to bring in a manager that suited your philosophy at the club, which is the way it should be. It's the way it should be if you're professional. But I don't see Ange going anywhere, and we're only expressing opinions. Those that want him to stay, don't want him. We don't have a say in it, right?
We have no say whatsoever. We have no.
My stance on Ange is essentially that if we're getting rid of him, then the person that's coming in has to be like Champions League level manager, because if they're not,
and attracting a manager, I'm not saying like they should be up for it anyway. It's their job. But then a manager's got to come in and think the previous managers just won a trophy, right? What it's a bit more added pressure.
Not finish 17th, and he's
a good question.
But that gets you stacked.
It's a good question from David R. Spurs had lost last Wednesday. It would have been our worst season since '77.
Yeah, and Ange would have been sacked the next day. But winning it, it's tipped up the apple cart.
All on one game. It was all on one game. It's the best season we've had in 40 years. We've had
he's gone. I actually said he's gone before.
I know what you're saying about the whole.
If we win it, but it's the impact of winning it, and everything sinks in, and it's more complex than we actually think about just getting the win and the money, the everything else that we spoke about earlier. It's more complex than that. And Levy, I don't think he's going to do it. I mean, if Paratici don't like him, well, listen, Paratici, you take. I mean, as much as I like what you've done, 9 of his players started that final. 9 of Paratici's players started that final, right? As much as I like you'll come in as DOF or technical director, or whatever Ponzi descriptive narrative they want to designate him. But to me, that it will be what it'll be, and Levy then will say, well, look, he's got this year. Right, next year World Cup, Poch is free. There'll be more up for it. I don't mind the Xavi link, Irish Hotspur and all that. And Jack, I was talking to them about it. They're not keen on Xavi for whatever reasons. But what I've read, what I've sourced, I quite liked him. But what they've seen has been different. So that's fair enough. It's just opinions. But like I don't see who you're bringing in. I don't. Frank, practical manager. Areola again.
Everybody said the same about Eddie Howe, didn't they?
Everyone says everybody seems the Spurs fans would fancy Glasner, but I think actually at Palace he's got more chance of winning Europa League, as have Newcastle, whatever, than they have of winning a Champions League. If the Spurs ain't winning the Champions League or the Premier League this next season, the best chance we've got of winning is getting a European spot and winning both domestic trophies. And that's what, unless we shit a miracle in a transfer window, we're not winning the Champions League or whatever. Shit a miracle, full stop, really. We're not winning the Champions League, and we're definitely not winning a Premier League, right?
How is season 3 going to be better than season 2?
Which I believe we will see next season.
He's actually gone back on that. He went into the press conference and went. So one of my friends, as soon as I said that, came to me and said, normally in season 3 series they kill the main character. So maybe I should have said that.
Himself once again. Everything,
and it's also a subliminal message to the board, isn't it? Like, don't sack me, right? Yeah. So
he doesn't have the Europa League level of competition to fall back on this season.
No, 100%.
No.
You know what I think is going to happen if he stays. It's either going to be two things. It's either going to be he's going to put all his eggs in a basket just to finish or get near to 10th and above. We're going to be at the FA Cup early, at the League Cup early, and sitting bottom of that Champions League thing because apparently, according to him, he can only focus on one thing at once. So he's going to have to go with the league.
We don't know what sort of transfer window we're going to have. The squad's not a bad squad, and but a couple, 3 or 4 players could transform that squad, giving you different blends up front and in midfield. We know the back 5, 6, or 7 can be excellent on its day. We know that we've done very well recently. I mean, we went away and win with a pivot at Brentford 2-0. We stink the place away at West Ham and get the draw, and then we have the 3 games away in Europe.
That's the worst.
I think he's learned. Like that, to adapt. I think he's learned to adapt.
I generally think this whole adapt thing. I think you can tell he's so stubborn that it's his way. And when his job was on the line, he just there must have been a tactical change where he's gone, sit back, park the bus, do not concede when you go 1-0 up. And yes, it worked to win a cup. But if that's not your philosophy, then what are you doing going into next season? He must probably not know himself. Do I sit back or do I play the Ange way? Because let's say he sits back.
Well, what is the Ange way then?
And he plays the defensive.
Ian went on earlier about David Pleat 2 at the back. We haven't done this season. I'm saying we haven't played. You haven't seen us 4 parked on the halfway line like we did under Poch, like Arsenal or Man City or Liverpool have done. You didn't even see us pressing when we had all the injured players in because the players were gassed because they're overworked. It's only when they started to come back,
was exposed,
right?
Well.
And as for the inverted fullbacks, when I've worked it, yes, Porro inverts. Doggy, he doesn't invert that much. He doesn't. When he's got his best, he goes down to the touchline or he links well with Maddison and Son when they're on the left, but Doggy doesn't invert that much. Porro does. So people need to define what they mean by Ange ball to me.
Not sure what. I'm not sure you. We don't watch the same
goals we've conceded.
We don't watch the same games, Adrian.
If you go and look at a lot of the goals we've conceded, Liverpool caught us on the break, the 6-3. Newcastle did very early in the season, first or second game of the season, caught us on the break there, right? But most of the goals we've conceded, we've had more than enough players in the box to deal with it. A lot of the time, there's 6 or 7 of us in a penalty area.
No, that Palace game was a joke. That was.
I mean,
2 or 3
it's like, and to me,
how many Palace scores?
Too many
right winger, the Colombian
individual errors this season.
Nunez.
Put them across the whole team, basically.
Did you not watch that Palace game the other week? The guy had Jesus. Where was Spence?
Yeah.
I've never seen a winger in so much space.
I noticed that Spence definitely, with the fan base, got less criticism than the others because he was out of position on a few occasions.
If it's in a phase of play where you can see, Saints will always criticise the player they don't like. The player they like, that's normal.
Yeah, but they never criticise the manager. It's always.
I think our biggest problem is, regardless of who's the manager, we still need to get 3 or 4 in. If we don't get 3 or 4 in, it don't matter who we've got in charge. We're going to be struggling.
We'll get them in.
If
Cardozo and Gomez are easy deals to do, and you could get Eze, that would be 3 in. Cost me about 110 mil.
If we'd have had,
then we need a left.
We'd have had Frank, Marco, or Glasner, any of those this season. Terzic, we wouldn't have finished 17th. That's for sure. We wouldn't have finished 17th.
Glasner knows.
I think Glasner would have been able to definitely finish higher and potentially win it. But I don't think there's no guarantee that the others would have won this cup.
Well, let me ask you a question. Beginning of the season, you look at our squad, Fulham squad, Brentford squad. Whose squad would you want? You got a choice of a
No,
squad.
I'm not debating that. Well, I completely agree with you. I'm just saying, as managers,
And they finished. How far ahead of us did they finish this season?
it would have been. Oh, well, we give up at the end, didn't we? So we didn't have God knows how many points it was in the end. What I'm saying is they might have.
There was a narrative going around about, oh, they've had injuries, we've had injuries. Hang about though. I mean, how many European games did Brentford had? That's 8 more games than them. We got through to semi-finals and finals, so we played so many more games than Brentford and them other teams to have rest between games. And rest period has proven. How many top British sides have gone abroad in Europe and come back for the next game and lost it? I wonder what the stats are on that, or drawn it, or played poorly.
Because they had a terrible record after.
But you think it's okay to finish 17th? That's all right.
No, of course it's not.
It won't be next year. If he won an FA Cup and finished 17th, it won't be okay. But the predicament we're in as a football club to win that cup, to win a cup, and not just a cup. It weren't a Carling Cup. I think if we've won the Carling Cup and finished 17th, it wouldn't be. It's not acceptable anyway. But it wouldn't have even been approved. It would have been a case of he's gone. But because it's the third biggest,
he would have been sacked next morning or that evening.
I think he would have.
We got away with it this season because we desperately needed that trophy.
Yeah, 100%.
As a one-off, you can get away with 17th.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But we should be doing what Newcastle are doing. They won a League Cup, finished 5th. Chelsea won the Conference League, they finished 4th.
But the only thing I will say is that when you look at that Newcastle team, if let's say they go and sign Mbeumo, they've got Gordon, Isaac, and Mbeumo, Tonali, and Bruno Guimaraes.
They've got the best in the league. I think.
That's incredible.
Tonali, Bruno, and Joe Linton.
You could argue that they actually should be higher because their team is they're weak on the right side, and that's why I put it in my group that reason. If they go and sign Mbeumo,
they had a lot of injuries last year, and I can see them making a genuine challenge for the title.
Sure.
But that's what I'm saying in terms of.
I think they're better than Villa.
I'm not saying Ange's the best. I'm not saying that he hasn't got his faults. I'm not saying that he doesn't have to take responsibility for stuff. What I'm saying is a lot of the problems we have at this club are there whether Ange's there or not. If we don't go and get the transfers right, then it doesn't matter whether he's there or not. The injuries, part of it is his problem, 100%. But we've had injuries and we've been terrible with injuries for years. Lamella, Sessegnon, going back to Anderton, Ledley King. Like we've always had problems with injuries. This isn't a brand new thing that's just come around. So we need to get so many facets of our club right to be able to be successful.
It's a shambles. It's a whole thing.
And that's my point. And when I first came into this YouTube scene, if you like, my whole thing was all of the names that were being linked to Glasner. When I first came around, no one ever mentioned Glasner because Palace didn't win a game. So no one mentioned Glasner at all. It was always your Silvers, your Franks. I love Frank. I think Frank is a brilliant manager for someone else, not for Spurs. I don't fancy him at Spurs.
Why not?
Because it will be exactly like with Conte. You brought Conte in and it was you have to win games and you have to win games now because if you don't win games, no one wants to watch this. And he's a very similar. It's very structured. It's very defensive. It's very solid. And
but what did we do in the final then? Like,
what I'm saying is, as soon as he loses a couple of games, all the fans will be like, "What the fuck are we doing here? Why have we got him?"
We didn't set out in the final to win it. Once we scored the goal, it was the same when we scored against Frankfurt. Once we got the goal, because in that first half, we didn't play. We didn't sit back with that midfield pivot, right, against Frankfurt. We were going for it, and so were they. And they could have scored. Once we got the goal, if everyone remembers, once we got the goal, we defended it for our lives. And that's the same. And that was the same. We started brightly in the final. Then Man United started to dominate. Right, started to dominate play and all that. But once we got the goal, they all had the huddle, didn't they, before half time? You can imagine what we're saying, right? We're hanging on to this, guys.
Why are we letting an awful Man United team force us back for the entire second half?
Yeah, I think that's because of a mentality thing. We're
27% possession.
We've been shit. We've been terrible. They've got all the history. Right. That's all everyone kept saying is that Spurs are never going to win it.
I've got no idea of football, but it worked.
I've got a question, right? Would you accept that Ange 36% free touches in the box of the opposition's box the first 10 games of the season if he comes in? Would you accept
it's a final though. It doesn't matter who's playing.
But he done that before the final at Frankfurt when we got the league.
We had one shot on target.
Again, there's circumstances. It's not. I'm not saying every single game. What I'm saying is he's gone at first of all. Most English teams when they go abroad in Europa League or Champions League, they find it difficult. So the fact he's gone to a difficult place, they're third in the Bundesliga, we're in shit form, we've been playing terrible, players are just coming back from being injured, whatever, and he goes and we're solid. I'm happy for that to happen on occasion. I'm not saying
we were missing Bergvall, Maddison, right? Kulusevski. If those three had been fit, they'd have started. You may have seen a totally different game. Because when we were playing players like that, we went up to Man United and spanked them. We went up to Man City and spanked them.
Yeah,
right?
that was like 6 months ago.
Well, hold on, hang on.
The thing that gets me with the Spurs fan base is what gets me when we beat a team. It's because
we're lucky we're not 3-0 down.
When we lose, it's because we're crap, right? That's what gets me with some of the. I don't get it. I don't get that sort of negativity around the club. When we beat a team, it's because they're rubbish.
It's got to be balanced. It's got to be balanced. And it's the same with the whole run. If you said that your run was a third team that was third in the Bundesliga, a team that beat the 6th placed in the Serie A, and then you beat Man United, it's not the best run in the world. It's not, but it's not as everyone's talking about. If you go and look at Chelsea's run in the 2019 Europa League final, their run, they played like Mulder in the semis and fucking, but no one's ever mentioned that. It's literally only to do down Spurs' achievements. It always is, no matter what we do.
I agree with that. I do agree with it. But
always told down. So we've had a quite a fortunate run. We've not played an extremely hard team, or if we have in Frankfurt, we've played them at a good time. But that counts for absolutely nothing, because in the League Cup, we played Manchester City, we played Man United, and then we played Liverpool, and we got knocked out of it, and no one gives a fuck. So you need that bit of luck.
Well, I think we had a bit of luck. Because,
get over the line.
No
matter who's the manager.
I had a player sent off, and I was glad we got Man United in the final rather than Atletico Bilbao in this stadium. Yeah. so you know, it's weren't we due a bit of luck, for Christ's sake? We've been
100%. I agree with that.
No, listen. But he got it right. He got it right in the Europa.
Yeah.
No complaints. I actually can't find it, but I sent a text through to one or two of the groups, and I said that domestically we were horrendous this season. In Europe we were successful.
Yeah.
The league position this season, the league doesn't define our season because we won a trophy.
Yeah.
But this can only be one-off. It can only be a one-off.
Yeah, I completely agree.
We finished 17th.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And when we won 4, drew 2, as I said before, out of 20 games against the top 10, and the only top 10 team that we played in the Europa basically is Frankfurt. So we don't have that. He doesn't have that safety net next season. Now, he finished 17th in the league. He went out against Villa. What annoyed me more about Liverpool, I walked through my front door at 4:30 the following morning. And I didn't expect them to get anything at Anfield. But that was a surrender from the first minute.
Yeah.
They sat back and they waited for Liverpool to score. There was no effort to take the game to them. And if you give it your best shots and you still lose, then it's expected. Liverpool at the time were the best team form-wise in Europe.
Yep.
But to go there and just surrender was an absolute disgrace. Just a disgrace.
We've looked disjointed and lack cohesion all season in the league, because you need to have a steady group of players in there. I only start to see a bit of midfield cohesion. And if you lose the games in midfield, you're going to lose you lose the battle. You're going to lose most games. Talk that at school anyway. But it's only time we see a bit of cohesion in midfield when he was picking 3 from 4, which was like Maddison, Decky, Bergvall and Bentancur. Then we start to see it too late in the season to ratify anything, right? But start to see a bit of midfield. So I still haven't seen the fluidity in forward line. That needs to vastly improve. Even though we scored a hell of a lot of goals, like it's there's no fluidity. There's no sort of a general understanding where players should be or running position. You've got the coaching. We get the bit. We've seen the coaching where Johnson turns up on the far post. We get that. That is part of the coaching. You can tell that's been coached, right?
Yeah.
And he has actually shown good instinct to be in the right place, which strikers need. So let's hope with work rate, it'll show our level. But Solanke and so it's there's not really any fluidity with any of the combinations we try to use in the forward line. We start to see a little bit with those 4 midfielders. Throw Gray in there, bring another couple in, try and get a few more blends to work, because you can't rely on one blend of 3 to play 50 games. So you've got to be able to change it up a bit. So we do need another. And when you've got a squad of 25, right, you've got 22 players, gives you 2 in each position. The extra 23rd player gives you the 3rd goalkeeper. The extra 2 players, I'd have them as midfielders. I really would, because like the way the Premier League is, and most games are lost in midfield, I don't mind having 8 midfielders instead of 6. I don't mind, but that's just my preference, you know.
I was actually one of the things I was actually going to ask, and I thought we would probably be off by now. But the one thing I was actually going to ask, and we've kind of touched on, is what do you consider as successful next year? Now, obviously, let's not go. Yeah, we'll get league and cup champs or whatever. Let's say Ange is here for. Well, it don't matter whether Ange is here or not. What would you consider as successful next year, Lugo?
2 answers for that. If Angie's here avoiding relegation, and I'm being 100% serious, because David's just asked, since the first 10 games, what's the points total and points per game? Well, in 66 games, we've got 78 points, which is 1.18 points per game. This season was the worst league season, points per game, we have ever had in our entire history since this club started in 1882. 1 point per game. We've never been this low ever in our entire history.
And we're European champions. Only Spurs could do that.
Yeah, you're right. Only Spurs could do
For me,
that.
success would be top 5 getting Champions League again, because we're not winning it unless somehow a miracle happens.
We're not winning it.
And a domestic trophy, because we're not winning the Champions League, we're not winning the Premier League. So to me, it's or both of them.
Chinwag Spurs says top 8, good cup run, maybe a trophy. So are we saying top 8?
Sava did a chart today where he looked at the last 40 years, 30, something like 30, the last 120 trophies that have been won by English clubs. I think it was domestically. And you got, I think, 10 out of 120 were in the bottom half of the table. They finished in the bottom half of the table. 11 at 110 out of 120 clubs are in the top half.
Yeah.
So for us this year, this was an anomaly. You know, we've done it 2 or 3 times, because I think we were 11th when we won the League Cup under Ramos.
Yeah. I don't think have we ever. I mean,
Portsmouth. You know,
there's in the recent memory in terms of the recent trophies we've won. I don't think we've ever been able to actually win a cup and have a good league season. This isn't justification for Ange. I just mean as Spurs.
No, we were going bust in 1991, but the year before the Premier League was inaugurated when Venables won it.
No, but what happened there, Adrian, was that Nat Solomon negotiated an 18-month period with Lloyds Bank to get the debt under control, because Scholar owed Lloyds Bank 18 million, and he actually took. It was all agreed before Sugar took over. Sugar didn't save the club. This is a myth.
And when George Graham won it, when Nilsson scored against Leicester, we went down to 10 men. That wasn't a great season.
No,
we always seem to have done things, apart from going back into the 60s, it always seems to be when there was no money, so you didn't have this. Yeah. It's completely latter decades, it always seems to be like when we've won something, shit league form, and we've been going through some form of crisis, you know. Whereas, like
again, is that not Spurs? Like it's just
it wasn't back in the day.
Just a mental club.
It wasn't
only we would argue about the manager after winning the European Cup.
Still, you got a 77, and then Harry Birkinshaw takes us down to the second division. That's his first name, by the way, Harold Keith Birkinshaw. So he takes us down to the second division, right? And they stuck with him, and he came back up, and then we got 78 World Cup. We get our dealers and Vila for about 750 grand or whatever it is, and then we and a year or two later we're bringing Archibald and Crooks in, and we all knew we were going to win something then, but because you just knew it, you know.
David brings up a good point here, and I think this is why Poch never targeted cups, because by winning a cup you're not got sustained success. But I don't think Spurs are a club that are going to get sustained success. But winning the Europa League is a fairly big achievement compared to a Carling Cup.
Yeah,
and even FA Cup.
No, can I answer designated Hotspur? I said on multiple occasions on Stell's show that we were one of 5 or 6 teams that could win the Europa League.
I dreamt we won it. That's why I bet us to win it from the beginning.
I said that on numerous occasions that we were one of 5 or 6. I'm absolutely gobsmacked we did, because we were playing a certain way, and he changed. He actually changed.
It was the one trophy I won at the beginning of the season. I dreamt we won it. I had a bet on it.
I still can't believe it. Just like, it's only our club that could do this sort of absolute.
Well, we've all got a warm glow inside from winning it, and we'll take the afterglow next season. And you've got to think what he's going to do to the players in the squad. If you're them young kids like Jai, you know, even Scarlett, Mikey Moore,
17 years old, European champion.
And some players will never. He's at the beginning of his career, and some players will never get a medal in their life. And the confidence it's going to run through the whole squad, because that will change the losing mentality to a winning mentality. There'll be belief. They'll have belief. Look, we're going to have a very good season in the league next year, no matter who.
I don't know how you can say that. I don't know.
Well, because because you know, my gut instinct told me we'd win this competition. I didn't think we'd have a bad league form that we had. But
Adrian, the Europa League is a level down from the Premier League. You do realise that, don't you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, to me, the Premier League is the hardest competition in the world. Then you've got the Champions League, it's 15 games. Then you've got the Europa League, it's 15 games. But you get to the domestic cups, six games you win the FA Cup, 6 games you win the League Cup. It's only 6 games.
But progression.
The Europa League's higher than our domestic cups, miles higher. And it was a lot harder, and there were much better quality teams back in '84 in that competition when we won it as well.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And in '72.
Yeah, definitely.
We are. I think we're all in agreement that there's no way this season can happen again. Obviously, Europa League, but FA Cup, it can't happen again. But time will tell about Ange. Some have very, very good faith he'll be gone. Others have very, very good faith he won't be. But we will soon find out. He is.
We'll see if he pulls the trigger, but as each day passes, there's less chance of it happening.
That's the cup I bought for Ryan because he hates Ange. And that is actually an AI image. It was.
That's what you call a proper mug there.
I bought it before. The Spurs cup that is replaced. It actually says on it, this is a cup. I bought this cup because it's the only cup Spurs are going to win. So I can now bin that cup, and that is my new cup with Ange Postecoglou and the trophy. As I say, I can't thank you enough. I think today's been so enjoyable. I really appreciate you all coming on. It's brilliant to hear people's views. I completely agree with what Manny said in the chat, that even though people come on and they give a different view to me, just the sheer love and enthusiasm for Tottenham is so good to see. And it's nice to know that people care about our weird little club just as much as I do. As I said earlier, because I did do an outro earlier and we carried on talking as well, everyone's links are in the description. So please pop along, go follow everyone and show some love to everyone. And other than that, there's nothing else to say other than Angian and come on, you Spurs. So thank you all. Have a good evening and see you all later. Bye-bye.